Tell the truth. Tell the truth.
Information Man
Tell
Show.
the truth. Tell the truth.
Do you want truth?
Tell the truth. Tell the truth.
If you don't want truth, this
truth.
is not the channel for you.
Tell the truth.
Information is power.
Tell the truth.
Yes. Truth.
Tell the truth. Tell the truth.
In the White House, I'm not gonna say his name. Jack Lake Preachers.
Tell the truth.
If you want truth,
Tell the truth.
the Information Show is the place for you. Truth.
Tell the truth.
You are listening to Information Man. Please make
We're
sure
trying to examine, open up one's mind, and understand the shit that's happening in American society and around the world. Information Man Show.
Information is power.
We got to ring the bell to wake the world up.
Information is
Tell the truth.
power.
Tell the truth.
Tell the truth. Okay, everybody, welcome to the program today. Sorry we're being a little late here, but I appreciate everybody who has come through. I've got the real Dana on with me. I'm going to bring her on in just a moment. Thank everybody out there. Thank you all for joining us today. What we're going to do today is we're going to talk about a variety of different subjects. I'll put some thumbnails up on the screen to give you an idea of where we're going. Do me the biggest favor and share this in your social media. Share this with other people. YouTube plays a lot of games with the notifications a lot of the times. And so go ahead and do that. I want to say peace to everybody that's out there. We got Sugar Love in the house. Brother DOD's in the house. BMT, Business Minded Talk. Good to see you here, brother. The Short Bus Pull Up. Love that, brother. He's got a great growth stream channel. Check him out. Hold on, he always says. So check that brother out. And we are awake. News has come in the house. Everybody that's come in the house, we got Back to the Basics is here. Thank you for being here on this. And Tiffany Jackson's in the house. She says, hi, Information Man. Thank you for all coming in at a time in this country and a time in this year that we're in where we have a lot going on. The real Dana has just super chatted me, and I appreciate that.
Thank you for the super chat.
And with all ado, let me bring in the real Dana. Let her talk. We're going to get into a variety of issues, as I said before. So I'm going to have her come in. And while I do that, let me give her a clap again because I'm glad that she's here. And here we go. All right. Sister. I'm so glad that you're here with me today. We were supposed to do this a long time ago, but the bottom line is you're here with me today. We're going to get into a variety of issues. I want to ask you how you're doing, first of all.
I'm doing great, and thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. Yeah, we were supposed to do this months ago, but I think it's like, now is the perfect time for us to, for me to be up here and to have these conversations. So, yeah. It's all about timing.
Oh, definitely. I'm glad that you're here. It's all about timing. You're absolutely right. I got my man, Whole Lips in the house. Thank you, brother. My BAIO brother that's in the house. He's just super chatted me. I appreciate that.
Thank you for the super chat.
And I'm going to give you a clap too. All right. So this is the deal. We're going to get into a variety of subjects, and I'm going to ask you point blank, so much to start with. But what is your current, I got to get into this because this is what's happening. What is your current view about George Floyd and what has happened to him? George Floyd, what is your opinion, your thoughts about what's really happened? What does this all represent?
I mean, it just represents the history that Black people have been going through here in America. It's nothing new. But is still happening. You know, you're talking about since 1619 and we're in 2020. What is that? 1, 2, 3, 4 centuries. You know what I'm saying? So, and we're still dealing with this now. And it's very sad, you know, it's very sad that you have a young Black girl who lost her father, you know, and it's a lot of Black children who don't have their fathers by way, you know, maybe they were killed by police, mass incarceration, killed by another Black person or white person, whatever. But you're talking about the Black community and Black people here in America, and our plight here in the United States is very traumatic and stressful. I don't think we actually sit and unload that. So, you know, it's a very sad situation that is still happening. It definitely need to be policy changes in the police department nationwide. We definitely need to have the conversation about reparations. Not just, no, matter of fact, no, not the conversations. We need to be demanding reparations, because either there's reparations now or never. And we're not having that conversation. Yes, Black Lives Matter, but we are more than a slogan. You know, George Floyd and everyone who was killed is more than a slogan and more than protests. So we actually need to mobilize, which people are doing now, but we need to organize, and it's a big difference.
Okay. You've heard me rattle off on my channel or maybe other. I am under the impression, or I'm under the thought, that I think that this is happening to us because, like Neely Fuller Jr. always says, we are behind enemy lines. And I think that, you've heard me say this, I don't think that our level of citizenship that we believe that we have is really being respected by those in this society that are running the institutions of this society. And therefore, this is why I personally think that these things continue to happen to us. Like this on the thumbnail, as you can see there, here is a picture of a brother. This is back in Ferguson, where they send in, they militarize the police, they send in the National Guard, and here's this brother with his hands up, and you can tell he's got no weapons, and they could have easily killed this man. And I feel like we are under a system that is mounting against us as individuals, and you know this as well as I know as a Black person. When you walk out your door, you are subject to anything possibly happening to you. What is your thoughts about that?
Yeah, I mean, this system was never built for us. It was actually built for us to be free labor. And we continue to be free labor, more so exploited, you know, because capitalism is about exploitation. Right. Honestly, and so I look at it like we live in this United States system of exploitation. But when I walk out of my house, and, you know, if I'm living in a Black community, it's also our responsibility to make sure that we are looking out for each other.
Right.
So, you know, and I'm not taking away from what is going on now, but, and I want to dig deeper, probably a little bit down the line into this Black Lives Matter thing, organization, because that's what it is. But Black people need to start caring about Black lives too. And that's the focus that's where we need to start turning our focus in, because that's just not about caring. That's really about action and coming together and organizing and fighting for economic empowerment, you know, empowering each other. We don't have a strong unity. We do want outsiders to come and lead us. And that's what I'm seeing to a certain degree now, or just having conversations with certain Black people. And when I'm saying now, this is the perfect time for older people, I would say my generation and up, to guide the younger people, because they have the energy and they're out there now mobilizing and protesting and raising hell, which they should. But then we also have to teach them, okay, how do we take that and organize it and build an organization to gain empowerment? Right. But how can we have empowerment if we can't work together?
Right. And as a reminder to everybody out there listening, I appreciate you all that are here. I did take the time just a minute before we went on to put Sister Dana's link to her channel. She has a fantastic channel, gets great support over there. So you can go into the description of this particular live video now, and you can find her link to her channel. And I would say give her 100% support because the sister tells the truth. Now, this is the trip. Before we went on, Dana says, hey, can I speak free reign here? So the reality is that black people are not all monolithic. We don't all think alike. So like anything, people are going to say things that you agree with and you don't agree with, but we all have our perspectives based on our experiences and what we've gone through. And I have to agree with you and that's why I have this on the thumbnail. Black people need to be on code. And I think we have lost a level of code. Like for example, I don't know if you noticed this, Sister Dana, but doing some of the clips of the protest, and this is just how I feel, you've got situations where you've got black people hugging cops. I don't know how you feel about that. Give me your thoughts about that, because I know it's this whole thing about let's work together, unity and all of that, but I just think it's a bad look at a time where you got black folks hugging and, you know, and when we're catching hell out here. What are your thoughts?
Yeah. See, this is not the time to hug. This is not the time to say, you know, we're all in this together. This is not the time to say love one another. No, this is war. This supposed to be war. It's supposed to be a revolution. It's supposed to be about sacrifice. It's not about love. It's not about hating.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and it's not about wanting to hug somebody. No, this is about you have to demand what is right for you and what is right for your people. And being on code, again, yes, it's not about being monolithic, being on code, but being on code is this. It is about every black person, no matter what political party or what background, every black person should be for and fighting for reparations. Why? Because it is reparations that is going to help us get any type of justice and peace here in America. And if we're not saying that, if we can't yell that and shout that and say reparations now, replace Black Lives Matter with Black Power, because reparations equal Black power. If you are afraid to say that, or if you have reserves about reparations, then you're part of the problem. And this is specifically for white people. See, I don't have to worry about for black people. I don't have to worry about white people. This is not about white people. It's not. It's not about other than Black Americans. They are, if you look at the protests that's going around worldwide right now, they tearing shit up in London. I don't want to curse any platform. Sorry. They're
Speak your mind, Dana. I don't want to. Don't censor yourself. I don't want to hear censoring.
They're starting to tear shit up in London, France, Greece. They burn it through a bomb at the U.S. embassy. I don't think they were black. I think they're probably white. But see, if we do set the pace, and if you go through American history, right, and you look at black people in American history, if you notice, whenever we uprise, the world follows. So, and that's what you're seeing worldwide right now. And there's more black people, more African people from the African diaspora worldwide than there is white. And that says something. And if you look, we are all oppressed. What's going on in Brazil right now? You know, they're having a protest and not just for justice for Black Lives Matter, but also for COVID-19. So we're all catching hell worldwide. So, and the base of it is here in America. So if we can't demand something that is old to us, it's not asking for a handout. I'm not asking you, no, something that is old to us. If we can't demand that and be on code with that, then there's really no hope for us here in America or worldwide, period. And that is the conflict that I'm having right now. I do not say Black Lives Matter. Because technically, yes, all lives matter. I say Black Power.
Right.
Now, how many black people feel comfortable saying that?
You know, I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't think that I think it's a small number of us who have no problem with saying that. And then there's a number of us who have a problem because we have a lot of our people who are trying and thriving to be accepted in this society, to assimilate into this society. They don't want to be seen as a troublemaker, a trouble rouser. And that's the problem. And so that becomes this question I have for you here. Is there any hope for black people? Is there any hope for us? Because a lot of us have been divided by our religious beliefs, our political affiliations. And then quite honestly, you know this, that the Black Lives Matter, I'm very indifferent about it because you're hearing all of that being said during these protests, but I'm indifferent about it because we know that George Soros, who is a liberal who likes to do what? Create social engineering and manipulation. We know that he is backing many of these types of organizations that spring up out of nowhere. Then there's the whole issue about, is it being co-opted by the whole issue around people's sexuality? So people have talked about that. And so I feel indifferent about it, although I believe that when we say Black Lives Matter, we're specifically talking about an issue that's happening to us. What is your thoughts?
Yeah, so Black Lives Matter, the slogan, the brand slogan that people are shouting, that's more so being directly towards individual Black people, that our lives do matter. But then if you look on the macro scope of it, I would say on the microscope of it, that is an actual organization, like you just said. It was created and financially backed by George Soros. Also, if you go to the Black Lives Matter website and you go to their about section, it does not indicate anything about Black boys, particularly heterosexual Black boys or men.
Yeah, that's a problem.
It is about LGBT because that's all that is listed. Please go and read it because we have a problem doing research and reading. So it is a front for the LGBTQ organization. Millions of dollars from corporations because they so-called feel white guilt, which is not, because they're making a profit of these protests that are going on. They're dumping millions and millions of dollars into this organization. What has Black Lives Matter, the organization, done for Black people? For example, we talk about Ferguson and after Mike Brown, and they were protesting and rioting there, and all those protesters that was arrested, they were supposed to get bailed out by organizations like Black Lives Matter, who came in there raising millions of dollars, NAACP and all these other socialist, liberal, democratic organizations. None of that money went to bail those people out. Darren Sills, who was murdered because he was an activist, murdered. And him and several other young Black heterosexual men murdered, exposing this, you know what I'm saying, who were genuine in the struggle. Yes. He said that. He broke it down like they did not help us. So we have to be cognitive of the fact that these young people out here today, nationwide, mobilizing, because this is what it is. They're mobilizing under the brand slogan of Black Lives Matter, but you have a Black Lives Matter organization financially benefiting from it that is not helping the community.
Right.
And that's a big problem, and that's a big discourse. That's a big disconnect to where we will not see progress if we cannot connect those dots right there.
Right. This is the thing that happens to Sister Dana, is that we're already seeing that, okay, a lot of people are getting, I believe, bamboozled by the fact that you have a lot of white kids, a lot of white people out there. But then we know that there's agent provocateurs out there where I've seen on video a white kid busting out windows while the cops are looking at him, didn't do anything to him. I saw on video the auto zone that everyone was talking about, where there was a black kid down there confronting this white individual that they believe was part of the right wing organized group that were busting out windows. There's a black, I don't know how many of you know this, but there's a black man, I believe, in Seattle, Washington, somewhere up in the great Northwest, who was he had a restaurant, a barbecue restaurant, and he actually gave police free barbecue. They shot him. Somehow he got shot by the cops, and they left his body out in the street for 12 hours. So the question is, and I'm going to put this on the screen and I'm going to ask you this question very quickly. Can America reform itself. I got up here, America cannot reform itself, and I put George Floyd up there. I heard Dr. Cornel West on CNN make a great quote in which he stated that he believes that America is a failed social experiment. Now, you may have a difference of opinion, Dana, and I got no problem with that, but what is your thoughts?
Yeah, what did he mean by that? A failed social experiment? It's not failing. It's one of the most. It is the powerful country in the world.
Well,
but,
I think what he meant by a failed social experiment in terms of race relations, in terms of how black people are being treated after all these years of being in this country for over 400 years, all the things that our ancestors have done. And, you know, historically, black people, we have always put out an olive branch of forgiveness. Hell, anytime a black man can be harassed at a political rally for Donald Trump, where he goes and he protests against Donald Trump and he gets beat up really bad by the folks that Donald Trump is shrouded by. And then it goes to court and then he gives them a hug. Anytime you see black people hugging cops out there, and it happened, it shows that we got a certain level of humanity to us, but we also can be very foolish too at the same time. So I think he's saying that America has never come to grips with its social problems as it relates to black people. And he believes that these are examples that we're seeing today, that it is a failure. And we have to judge a tree by the fruit that it bears, Sister Dana.
Yeah, I mean, but was it ever supposed to, was it their whole mission and their whole purpose of coming here to this land, taking it from the native, it wasn't to bring harmony. It was to build prosperity for the white man and his white woman and white children and his legacy. So if, you know, let's just start from the 60s and the civil rights movement, you know, and all of the mobilizing that was done, you know, to get legislation passed, such as the Civil Rights Act. But, you know, that you could say that fell, that if you look then to now, that was a failure in itself, because we're not benefiting from that. We're not the majority benefiting from that. The majority benefiting from that is one, white women and immigrants, right, and now LGBT, and then us. So yeah, he is right in that sense. The stuff that we fought and people in the past fought and died for and sacrificed for, we are not reaping those benefits now. Now that too has to go back to just us mobilizing and not organizing.
Right.
And I think I think we do need to have during this show that conversation, the difference between mobilizing and organizing. I was listening to Kwame Ture this week, and it's like the way he broke it down, what was going on behind the scenes and what it meant for the MFDP, that's the Mississippi Freedom Democratic Party. Right. And I encourage everyone, just go look at that documentary and go read up on that, because it will actually teach us how the great compromise for Black people happened at the Democratic Convention in Atlantic City, which is one of the reasons why Black people continue to vote Democratic. And Martin Luther King mobilized all of the majority of those Black leaders at that time, trying to convince the MFDP to come into the Democratic Party. And you know what I'm saying? And they refused. But the Democratic National Party was so powerful that it overwhelmed and basically dismantled that non-nationalist party right there out of Mississippi. Because because basically that was the group of Black people coming together saying, we're not pledging allegiance to no party. We want an independent party. And if we would have kept fighting for that, if we would have had the backing of MLK, Ralph Abernathy, and all those other top guys or whatever, then today we would have been a voting bloc, because that's what that was, the MFDP. We were our own independent voting bloc. Right. And it would have grew. So being that they compromised that and dismantled that, we don't have true organization that's specifically addressing Black people.
Right. Let me stop you right there and say peace to the chat room again. I want to say thank you to No Nonsense is in the house for the super chat.
Thank you for the super chat.
And I haven't forgotten about Kujin87. He super chatted me as well. Thank you, brother.
Thank you for the super chat.
And then, of course, Brother Kenny gave me a super chat. Thank you.
Thank you for the super chat.
And I see that Great Black Shark is in the house. A lot of great folks are in the house. Do me the biggest favor. Share this in your social media. Do it right now while we are actually live in an effect. We got my man Underrated Darkness in the house. We've got Benny. Benny is in the house. What's going on, brother? Kujin, of course. While we're actually on live, put it in your social media because this is a very important conversation that we're having here. Sister Dana always puts it down. Let me ask you this question here. God, there's so much to get into. I got to bring this up. This is going to be controversial, and I'm going to say it like it is. Breonna Taylor. I know people are saying her name a little bit while people are focusing on George Floyd. But the truth of the matter is when black women are being harmed in this country, and I personally believe, and I don't care if people want to call me beta male or not, that's a bunch of bullshit. I'm 100% on my point here. As black men, we cannot allow our black women, one, to be harmed by the larger society. It is not, personally, I think that black men are the ones that should be out there on those front lines when it comes to protesting so that our children and women are not harmed, because I personally believe that we're the ones that should be the soldiers and are supposed to be the soldiers. But with that said, when black women are killed by cops just like black men, I don't think, and I think it's because we're so used to black men being killed, or that we're so, conditioned to focus on what's happening to black men that sometimes we forget about our women. And there was not the same mobilization over Sister Breonna Taylor's death, being shot by police 8 times while in her bed, completely naked, by the way, in her bed because she was sleeping. People got in an uproar because of the emotions of seeing George Floyd on television in the videos crying he could not breathe. But what about our black women who are often being harmed in this society as well? What do you have to say about that, Sister Dana?
Well, I will say that I think the reason why George Floyd is getting, everyone is talking about George Floyd more is because, it was on camera, and people have a different reaction when they see something on camera than from what they hear. Yes. Just the same with Ahmaud Arbery, first it was about him. And I think the reason why you see more protests going on now is because, when people finally saw the video of Ahmaud Arbery, it was outraged. And then a week later, it was a George Floyd, maybe 2 weeks later, George Floyd was murdered by the cops. Whereas Breonna, there's no video, because no one didn't care about Mr. Arbery in February. It was more so, hearsay or maybe local news or whatever. So it's more so everyone is visual now because of new technology. You want to see, you want to be able to shout and touch. So I don't want to make this black man versus black woman, but there is such thing as gender privilege, and men do have this privilege over women because they were born, a male. And that's just how it is. I'm not saying that is right, but it is up to us to look at Breonna Taylor and George Floyd equally as a tragedy. So only reason why it's not as much outrage, even though I haven't even reading. I need to catch up on what is happening to those police officers in Kentucky. But the only reason why it's a different level of outrage is because one was on camera and one was not. But it is our responsibility as black people, again, and I'm going to include myself. You cannot separate the two. We have to bring those two together because it's the exact same thing. We have to hold those officers and fight for those officers to be accountable and to be locked up and to be behind bars, just like George Floyd murderers. Okay. So that goes back to, that's our problem. That goes back to our lack of not working together. You know what I'm saying? Of not mobilizing and organizing at the same time to fight for both. So, we dropped the ball on that one, and we can't continue to do that.
Okay, wow. Let me ask you this question. It goes back in some of the same subject. Okay, whatever year, what was it? Couple years back, Kaepernick was taking the knee, which he took that knee because there was an actual military veteran who told him, if you really want to give some respect, you take a knee, you kneel down. It's the same thing that they do when you lose a son or a daughter to military service. They will knock on the door, present you with the flag, and they also do take a knee. But everyone turned Kaepernick's attention to what was happening to black men and women in the streets of America. They turned it into his hate for the military. Then you had a small percentage, and I'm going to say it, a small percentage of Negroes, football players, on this plantation called the NFL. If you look at the NFL, it's like a plantation. You got a field of play. You got the owners in the luxury box saying, get him, nigga, fight, fight, fight. Just like you saw in Django Unchained in that scene where they were fighting the Mandingo Warriors. Well, football is that same goddamn plantation. I don't care what anybody says. I'm going to tell the truth. And you had a few that were riding with him, like some of his teammates with the 49ers, okay, who were riding with him. And then you had some of these football players in the NFL, particularly, I'm going to say black football players, since the majority of the league is black, who were necessarily not taking a knee. They didn't want to get involved. You had the owners that didn't want to get involved. And all of a sudden, when they completely tried to marginalize Cap, you had various Negroes in the NFL, part of the NFL Players Association, that were trying to take lead about how much money the NFL was going to give them to deal with social issues. But yet Cap was not at the table. Now, all of a sudden, since we had this issue with George Floyd, all of a sudden you got some of these NFL players coming out saying that they don't like what Drew Brees had to say, which I'm actually happy, Dana, when these individuals say their real truth, because it lets you know where their minds are. So you had Negroes coming out saying, well, they didn't like what he had to say. Then there were those trying to defend him. And at the end of the day, I'm saying to myself, where were you all when Cap was talking about this and y'all didn't want to ride with him? Some of you did, but not all of you didn't ride with him. And if you really want to make an issue over black coaches not getting hired and the issue over what's happening to black men on the street and women, how about you do the ultimate sacrifice? Because this is about protest is about a sacrifice, and making changes about sacrifice. How about you say, we not playing no goddamn football until changes are made? And you didn't see any of the players do this. Now they want to get up in their draws and now have a lot to say. But guess what? Cap has gotten lost in this discussion now. What are your thoughts, Dana?
Well, it's bigger than Kaepernick. And
it is.
I'm a football fan. NFL football is my favorite sport. I come from a football family.
Okay.
So, majority of the black football players, and some white, but majority of the black football players do come from whether single mother households, poor families, or poor communities. And sports and entertainment has majority, for the most part, been black people way out of the ghetto and able to obtain wealth, right?
Right.
So I will never knock football, but football is privately owned. It is a business. That is their job, right? So do you go to your corporation that you work in? I worked for a corporation for 20 years, and I always had a problem with injustices when it comes to black people. But I don't have that right to go to my job and say, well, I'm not going to work because black people in America don't have, we face injustice here in America. No, that's their company. So if they say to you as a company, okay, I hear you, but you still have to work, or these are our guidelines, you have to adhere to it. However, the chicken is coming home to roost for the NFL, because now the owner is saying we were wrong for trying to hush or trying to, make the football players not kneel. And I appreciate that, but it's so much bigger than NFL. But I also appreciate Malcolm Jenkins, because because Kaepernick, again, going back to the mobilizing and the organizing, Kaepernick mobilized. He's a mobilizer, and he's also an organizer because he does have organizations with his own money that he actually gives back to the community.
Right,
Not
which
Black
people
Lives
don't,
Matter stuff.
nobody talks about that too.
And nobody talks about it, but that's not. But the fact is that he really wasn't, and he wasn't looking for people to praise him. But anyway, but I also praise Malcolm Jenkins, because what he did was, and this is what you have to do when you're dealing with corporate here in America, because that's capitalism. He created players, I forgot the name of it, but it's a players organization, NFL organization, to where the players come together. They created a board to address social justice issues in the Black community. And through that organization that Michael Jenkins and other players created, and of course they wanted Kaepernick to come on, but it was some type of breakdown. Sometimes that happens. It's a lot of things that they got the NFL to do before all this even broke out, during back then, because the NFL donated, I think, 50 million to underprivileged or disenfranchised communities. So there are different ways to organize to be effective, and Kaepernick did his thing with the kneeling, mobilizing and getting the word out there. But then you have the media, which is the devil, because they turn it and make it into something else. But we always need to be a step ahead of the media and know the truth. But he had his way of mobilizing. Malcolm Jenkins had his way of mobilizing / or more so organizing, that still were able to infiltrate and come out with results. Because if I own a business, you're not going to tell me how to run my business. But if I have employees that organize within that business and say, hey, we bringing this to the table, then yes, we can have that discussion, and you can make leeway like Malcolm Jenkins did. Kaepernick, on the other hand, he went, he did what he did. He wanted people to back him, but he also took his money and Nike money and started his own organization and literally giving directly back to the people. So again, if people chose to still watch football, Black people, I wasn't upset because I still watch it. I was not going to.
Let me come in and come right back. Let me come out and come right back in.
Why?
I think I know what's going on here. All right, let me.
It looks good.
Okay, I'm back on some sound problems. Let me go ahead and do.
Did you hear me, or you couldn't hear me?
No, because I couldn't hear you. But hold your thoughts right there. Let me say peace to Brother Underrated Darkness for the super chat.
Thank you for the super chat.
Thank you, brother. Thank you a lot. And we got my sister Tiffany, who's coming to the house. Thank you for the super chat as well.
Thank you for the super chat.
And anybody that I miss, I apologize. Let me see. We got Fly C's in the house. Great Black Sharks in the house. Tiffany's in the house. George Frazier's coming to the house. Everybody, do me. We got S. Wiseman. What's going on, S. Wiseman? Where have you been, S. Wiseman? S. Wiseman, Italy has a little Italy. Chinese have a Chinatown to give us ADOS sanctuary cities. Interesting. Good to see you, S. Wiseman. And then we got brother Rob, aka Finance, is in the house. Thank you for being here as well. Let me see who else is in the house. Back to the basics. We've got Brother Black, Ronnie Black, Information Man Show. Peace to you. Hey, peace to you and everybody that's come in. Sorry about I kind of fell off the panel, but I'm back on this. This StreamYards be tripping sometimes. But let me just say this to you. Let me give everybody once again a thank you for the super chat.
Thank you for the super chat.
Let me say this to you, Sister Dana. I agree with you that when you own your own business, you have a right to make whatever rules you want. But this is where I differ slightly with you. The NFL is making millions and billions of dollars. The owners are making billions of dollars versus the players are making millions of dollars. And we tend to think that, well, they're making millions of dollars, they're rich. No, they're rich. They're not wealthy. They don't have generational wealth. I mean, most athletes go broke 3 or 4 years after their career if they don't manage their money properly. And that is on them to manage. However, the NFL is making billions of dollars off of black bodies. Our youth are playing football. We're putting our kids on these football fields, putting themselves at risk for these concussions, which is killing them in the end. What's going on, Baller's life? And so I think that Cap's, what he did was right because, okay, you guys are making money off of black labor. We're making you rich, but you don't care about what's happening to black people in the streets. Where do you think you're getting your employees from? You're getting them from the streets of America. Black women in particular are giving birth to these children who may grow up to be football players, just like black women were giving birth to children on a goddamn plantation, which they used to make them work them damn fields like the football field. That's my perspective on it, sister, but go right ahead in what you were trying to say.
Yeah, and just corrections. They created a players coalition. Malcolm
that's right.
Jenkins and the Anquan Bolden and others. But so let me just say this. So you're absolutely right. You don't have to play football, but again, black people, we do gravitate towards sports and entertainment mainly because a lot of other industries were shut out for us, right?
Right.
But so overall view, when I'm comparing, when I'm looking at Kaepernick, you know, I applaud what he started and what he continues to do, and I also applaud Michael Jenkins and other for creating a players coalition, because I look at what Malcolm Jenkins did and is doing. You got to have a seat at the table.
That's true.
When you're dealing with corporate, and the NFL is a corporation, but you got to have boots on the ground too. So both men are right. They may go about it differently, but the goal of being on code, that goal is the same goal of breaking down injustices when it comes to black people here in America, especially the black youth. So I have a problem that the NFL, you know, there's no black owners, and that's because it's an old white boys club, men's club, where they probably purposely lock out wealthy black men who probably can come in and create a league or be a co-owner or whatever. But then again, we need to start creating our own. So a lot of people are not going to stop watching football. A lot of black football players, going all the way down to Pop Warner, are not going to stop playing football, because you know what? Football teaches these young black boys how to be men. It teaches you about life. It keeps you in shape. It's a lot of positive things that come out of that. So I would never knock the sport of football. You know, it's part of this American culture. But yes, however, the people that are the players, they should be treated with respect. They their backgrounds and where they come from, because it's the same story, you know, needs to be highlighted and it needs to be addressed, and they have the power and they have the money to do so, because yes, football is watched by majority of black people, poor people, rich people. So why not set that pace as a corporation to make a change? We see that now with a lot of these corporations donating millions of dollars to different organizations. However, who are these organizations that they're donating money to? As opposed to, and this is what I'm saying, it's very important to have organizations created and led by black people, like the Players Coalition, because we know what they're doing with that money, like Know Your Rights that Colin created and other organizations he created. We know what he's doing with that money and where that money is going. But these other corporations, those organizations that they giving money to, is not going to go into our community.
You're right.
I think we need to stop focusing on the NFL and what they did not do, and let's focus on, okay, how to make a change that's going to directly affect us.
let me ask you this question. When you talk about change, now I have to get into this controversy here, and that would be, okay, we've got Donald Trump, who in my opinion became president because it was an anti-revolt by white people in this country for there being a black man that was president for, 8 years. And so as a result of that, you would figure, wow, we go from Obama to a man like this. And that told me, when people thought that we were in a post-racial society because of Obama, it told me right there, which I already knew, that nothing has changed as we may think it is. And so my question to you, when we look at President Obama in the 8 years that he was in office, and we all heard him get on his Zoom or whatever and talk about what protest is and blah, 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 and all of that. And I'm thinking to myself, Dana, over these last few days when I heard Obama speak out, and you tell me if I'm wrong or right, or if you have a different opinion, it's okay. And I said to myself, this Negro was in office for 8 years. We had Eric Holder, who was the top cop of this country, at a time when a lot of this stuff, the names that we can name that were killed by police, they really didn't do anything to neutralize it. Even under Obama, all this stuff was happening. And I'm thinking, you had 8 years and you could have implemented a lot of more shit. You could have did executive orders. Even if the Republicans tried to stop you, you could have made executive orders on a lot of stuff. And of course, he did put in some provisions against police departments that, of course, Donald Trump came into office and he took them away. I get that. But I feel like we lost an opportunity with this so-called black president named Barack Obama. In my opinion, an opportunity was lost. Maybe it was because black people didn't have our freaking agenda together. We didn't have an agenda. Maybe not. Maybe we had failed leadership. Maybe black people were too busy celebrating the fact that we had black people in the White House. And maybe we had a black man in Obama who really wasn't what I would say an ADOS, didn't grow up like us. So he really doesn't have a full sense of what it is to be black in America from a perspective of being born of a black man and black woman like Michelle Obama. Maybe he forgot his, what was he, a community organizer? He didn't bring that community organizing into the White House as he did during the campaign. And yes, the Republicans stood in his way. Yes, they did. But what is your thoughts with all that I've said? Your thoughts? They can be different from mine. It's okay. What are your thoughts about that?
About Obama? I mean, Obama is a white man. Obama lived a white life. Obama has white wealth. He has a white legacy. He is the richest president that ever sat in the White House. Yes, he is. And if you don't believe me, read his book, look it up. That is a fact. So, and I'm going to include myself because I voted for him twice because I was under the illusion of this is a black man. I did not read his book. I did not do my due diligence and research this man and his background. I just figured, oh, okay, his mom is white, but his father's black. But, I don't know. I thought he had some type of the black experience, right? So I'm like, we're all black. Every black person is to blame. But then you have a lot of black people that still love him. And that's your business because he's black or whatever, because he's a Democrat, because they love Bill Clinton too. And then they was voting for Hillary Clinton over Trump. So this goes back to party lines because black people love the Democratic Party. That goes back to 1965, that Democratic convention in Atlantic City. I think that was the year. But he did not do anything for black people. What he did a lot for the American people, especially the wealthy and corporations.
Right. That's right.
So we did not demand, forget asking, we didn't demand anything. And then now, when you do have an ADOS movement, it was so sad to see black people, certain black people, try to dismiss and discredit ADOS quote unquote movement because technically it's not an organization, and I think it needs to be, because it'd be a real authentic, genuine one. But they try to discredit that. And if you notice, those are certain type of Black people from a certain generation that was discrediting it. And it's like, for what? Because we should have been doing this when Obama was president. We should be demanding reparations. We should have a clear and concise agenda and actually working towards it and demanding for our needs to be met, and making sure that we are voting more so on a local level and focusing on, okay, who are these people on our local officials and what are they doing? We should be pulling our money together, but we really don't have money to create super PACs. Majority of our money, our super PAC is a church, and under the establishment law, they can't be included as a super PAC. So reparations will allow Black people to start creating super PACs so that we could put our own politicians into office or create our own political party, because we should have an independent political party, a block vote. So he didn't do anything for Black people. We dropped the ball. Black people, we dropped the ball on that. When I look at Obama, I just see a white man. He's very charismatic. He's very intelligent. He's very sophisticated. He's a great orator. Whereas Trump is not.
Right.
But Trump is entertaining. Trump utilizes the technology. So he does have his hand and his pulse on young people. That's why they're so intrigued and brainwashed. I watch Trump for the entertainment. However, some of the things he do say, I do appreciate, because he is, I will say this, if we do come together and demand reparations, he is the president that will most likely give it to us. I bet you if we demand Trump to sign an executive order for reparations for African Americans, he would do it before November. But nobody didn't even utter that yet.
But Dana, I have to give you a little pushback on this one. I've heard Donald Trump out of his own mouth say, when the issue of reparations was brought to his attention, he hawked at it. He said that ain't gonna happen. I don't think that a Nazi president, that's what he is.
I don't care what that man is. I don't care what people are. Well, I don't care your color. I don't care your religion. I don't care your background. And he said, that's interesting. And even if he said it may not happen, you know why? Because look at the Black people that's around him. Let me just say this. These quote unquote Black Lives Matter founders and all these other Black organization founders and all these other so-called Black leaders like Reverend Al, you're not beating down that man's door for him to sign. Forget that HR 40 that's been sitting on the floor for over 30 years. You should be demanding for the president to sign an executive order for reparations for African Americans. But they're so caught up in that Democratic Party because it's very powerful.
I totally agree with. Let me just say this. I'm not a fan of either the Democratic Party, which was the original Dixiecrat Party before it became Democratic Party. And it still is. But we got to remember many of those Dixiecrats who Joe Biden praised, people like a Strong Thurman and these kind of individuals. I don't care for either, because a lot of them jumped right over to the Republican Party too. I don't really care for both political parties, but I do realize that it's what we have. It's a system that we have in place. I think that Al Sharpton and many of the leaders, I mean, even though he gave, I'm going to be honest, Al Sharpton gave a spirited eulogy this past week, this past few days, or just the other 2 days ago. And I got to admit that what he said in his eulogy was the truth. However,
what did he say? Because honestly, I really don't care what that man said at the eulogy.
Well, he just talked about that George Floyd, what happened to George Floyd in terms of them putting a knee in his neck is a metaphor for what has happened to Black people throughout the centuries, that the white man or the system has had a knee on our neck, whether it be from hanging us from trees, from keeping us out of it. Let me just finish with what he said. Whether it be hanging us from trees, keeping us out of education, jobs, what have you. This is what he said. Now, this is how I look at it, Dana. I agree with the things that he said in his speech. However, one of the things that I am smart enough not to allow myself to get caught up in, which some black people get caught up with when we listen to preachers and charismatic speakers, that we get caught up in the speech, but we don't get caught up in what are they really doing to change and transform our life and our situation. So Al Sharpton, along with Benjamin Crump, they'll run around and they'll say all the things that we want to hear to try to fight, give us the impression that they're fighting for us and give us good speeches. But at the end of the day, we still get left holding an empty bag. So I'm not a fan of Al Sharpton at all, because I look at what is he doing? What is the action
Al Sharpton
doing?
Reparations.
Right. So while people like Al can recite all this history in his speech, as well as Benjamin Crump can say what he said, what are they doing, like you said, to put foot to ground and ass to say we want reparations? None of them are pushing that narrative. None of them are pushing that narrative in a way that's transformable for all of us. So I agree with you that someone like an Al Sharpton or whoever else, they're not really getting us true tangibles as we would want it. But I would also say to you, in my difference of opinion from you, Dana, is that I don't believe, because you heard one thing that Trump said, and I heard another audio where he did say, where he kind of hawked at the idea. I don't think that Donald Trump is going to give, or the Republican Party is going to give black people the reparations, or either party, because both of them have stumbled. Now, the HR 40 bill that you're talking about, when Conyers was alive, do you know that, sister, that they couldn't even get it in committee because both the Democrats and the Republicans were bullshitting around, didn't take it serious, and still don't take it serious.
Yeah, exactly.
And the reason why they don't take it serious, and I'll end right here, is that they don't have a level of respect for black people, and they don't see us as citizens. I'm going to stick to that. And because of that, power conceals nothing without a demand, and power will only give way to other power. We as black people, and the leadership that we have, does not wield enough power in our action and behavior to make them give us that which we should. The only way we're going to get it is that we're going to have to raise hell like they're raising hell in the streets for George Floyd.
True. However, now going back to Trump,
yes.
I don't care what he or the Republican Party or the Democratic, it's not about what somebody says, it's what they do. And it's what you make them do. Now, May 9th, 2019, he signed an executive order for economic empowerment for Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders.
Okay.
Now, they are less than 4% of the population here. You could pull that up and you could read that executive order at whitehouse.gov. If you read that, that's exactly what African Americans needed and need today, more so. However, Asian Americans, they are not Democrats. They are not Republicans. They don't give a damn who's sitting in that White House. But what they do, and as far as being on cold and monolithic, they look at what do our community need. So again, we need to retrain our thinking. I don't care what you say. I don't care how you make me feel. I don't care if you are racist. And listen, a lot of people that are racist that we deal with every single day. That doesn't bother me. Why is it bothering majority of black people? It is what I'm telling you to do and what I'm demanding you to do. And I have the muscle behind me to support that. And you have no choice but to give me what I'm asking for. So when I say he is the most likely president to do it, because damn sure Joe Biden ain't going to do it. No other Democrat ain't going to do it. No other Republican president ain't going to do it. He's the most craziest, uneducated. He doesn't have a political history. He never sat in any type of political office. He is the most likely person to do it if you demand it. I don't get emotional. And that's part of getting emotional about what somebody said. Give a damn what you say. But guess what you want to do? Because I'm going to make you do it. Let me just say this. Let me just say this as far as this the Democratic Party. Again, that goes back to us being brainwashed and I'm gonna have to sit up here and lack of a better term, throw MLK under the bus, because he even said it. He led us into a burning house. Because we had it's funny, it's certain times in history or here in America, it's certain points that that presents itself to us to regain power, right? For your group. The Jews did it, Asians as well. This is our time. During that Atlantic City Democratic Convention was our time to actually grab power, to be an independent bloc party, an independent party, and have a block vote for Black people. That was compromised. This is the perfect time now, 70, 80, 90, damn, 50 years later, this is the time now, 50 years later, to redo, you know what I'm saying, what was done then, to redo that wrong.
Okay.
And
Dana,
if we are not aware of that, we don't understand the science of politics.
Well, Dana, let me just say this, and don't get me wrong. You made a good point here. I don't believe personally that some of us understand politics. And I remember when I was studying Fred Hampton in Chicago, and he said before he was slain in his home by police, again, police are doing it to us. He said when he was part of the Black Panther movement, he said that Black people need to have a political education. I'm going to repeat that again. Black people need a political education. You need to have economics, political education, and organization to have Black power. Without those elements, and you need to have land, and I believe nationhood as well, to have true Black power. Now, let me give you an example real quick. I lived in San Francisco for many years, and they have one of the most renowned Chinatowns in the country. They have one in New York, of course, and every other place in the country has a Chinatown or has a small Italian town, but we don't have a Black town. Even when what's my man? What's my name? My man who talks about Pyronomics. What's his name? He was trying to create a Black economic district in Detroit. Claude Anderson. Claude Anderson.
Yes.
And he said that he was trying to create what we call a Black town in Detroit, and the Negroes, particularly the Black politicians, ran him out of town, would not get on board with that ideology because we don't have the proper leadership. Now, in Chinatown in San Francisco, for example, because I observed this, growing up in San Francisco, you're around a lot of people from international perspectives of the world. I observed Chinese. They didn't run the politicians. Like you said, politicians ran to them. But this is the difference, though, Sister Dana. What I noticed is that the Chinese had their organizations intact. They had their language intact. They can speak Chinese, right? Their languages, their culture intact. Their kids go to Chinese school. Where's our Black schools on the weekends? We ain't sending no Black kids to Black schools.
Even if they went to public schools, they were taught Chinese culture at home.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Right. But in Chinatown, San Francisco, they actually have the physical brick and mortar schools. Another thing I noticed about Chinatown is that when they have their businesses, most of the people working in them were Chinese. They ain't have Black folks up in there unless we was washing dishes or something. Okay. So they had a community and they had banks. They had an economic system. And sister, even though they might have been citizens of the United States, they had nationhood back home in China. They had a nation to back them. So politics recognizes these concepts. There are no permanent enemies. There are no permanent friends in politics. There is only permanent interest. They saw the interest in the Chinese because they respect the Chinese because the Chinese, they have a sword of power. They do not respect Black people because where is our Black schools? Where is our Black towns?
Where
not
are Black
neighborhoods?
businesses? Where is our Black home ownership?
Right. And then where's our proper Black
our
leadership?
Economic empowerment to control and dictate what is going on in our community. Right.
And then for those of us who
where that's at though, because
let me just make this last point. And because you're the guest here, and make this last point. And although some of us are talking about going back to Africa, and that's fine. If Black folks want to do that and some of us want to explore the opportunities over there, we should connect with Mother Africa. But guess what? Because Africa is a continent, they have their own set of problems to deal with. they can't really back our move over here in America as black people, because all the way going back to Jimmy Carter with Memoranda 46, they've been trying to disconnect us from the continent. And so because of those areas that I spoke of, black people are treated with a disrespect, and we're disrespected by our own people. And they put in puppet black leaders like an Al Sharpton, like some of these politicians in the Black Do Nothing Black Caucus, and we find ourselves looking silly. Go ahead, sister.
Yeah, I call the Black Caucus now the LGBT organization because they represent them and others. But we don't. So when I was saying the reason why we don't have economic empowerment, we don't circulate our dollars in our community, we don't have businesses, we don't have that respect because we don't have reparations. And it sounds like a cliche now. And this is, I don't care if people don't want to have that conversation, or, oh my God, here go the reparations conversation again. You're asking for a handout. Oh, you just want to check, and how is it going to be divvied up? No. And this is the ignorance of people who are sitting in certain positions, even people who are running for office, and just some random black people. That's the ignorance of their thinking, that you're not even educated. You're not even educating yourself on American history, the plight of black people here, how public policies dictated since the Civil Rights Act was passed, how public policies out of that Civil Rights Act kept us in the ghetto. We had the right to vote, but people in Chicago was voting and they still were poor. How public policies that after the Civil Rights Act were passed allow crack cocaine to flood our communities, and destroying our communities, destroying the black family, destroying the black mother, and she's birthing crack babies that sit up here and produce generations of degenerates. How public policies dictate where we are educated and how we are educated, and the money that is stolen from the school systems in the black community. How public policies force us to vote blindly for the Democratic Party. And this all came out of the civil rights movement. And that is a hard pill to swallow.
So Dana, let me ask you this question.
Let me throw this on the table too.
Okay.
Malcolm X, great organizer. That's why they killed him, because he was organizing the African Union and countries in Africa and blacks in America, and was going to present it to the UN. And they was like, he got to go, because if he was able to successfully do what he was organizing that with Pinto, because he was murdered, assassinated 2 or 3 days, or maybe the same day after Malcolm X. Marcus Garvey, he had, I believe, over 1 million Black membership in his organizations, and he wanted Black people to transition back to Africa. Then, okay, well, you got to get deported, you got to get up out of here, or we're going to kill you. So when you have people such as that mobilizing us, or not just mobilizing, organizing, because that was an organization. The power that's behind organizations, when they dismantle that, you have to look at the plight of Black people after that. So that is the importance of organizing and the power behind it. And that is why they do not want us to be organized, and they will infiltrate it at every cost possible.
Right. I played a week ago a soundbite from Neely Fuller Jr., and I thought it was profound what he said, because he said that the way white supremacists look at spokespersons, or just look at people who have the gift of gab to be able to move the crowd. He says that they don't look at the spokesperson, they look at the crowd first. So they look at how the crowd reacts to the spokesperson. He said, we've had many Black spokespersons, but does that spokesperson evoke a certain level of activism in the people that are listening? So if people are going out and are actually doing what that spokesperson is talking about, which is why Malcolm X had to go, because he was actually causing a change, Dr. King, they were causing something that would cause a change in public policy. So actually when you are a powerful spokesperson that can move the crowd, then you become very dangerous to the system. But if the crowd doesn't do anything that you're talking about, then you're just a person talking. So they don't see you as a threat. And that's seems to be how it works. Let me
right. Let me just say something to that.
Go ahead.
Right,
go ahead.
Because the crowd is mobilizing now today as we speak.
Yes.
But there's no representative from a strong organization that are speaking for us. So the powers that be, they're not threatened about these protests because you don't see the government giving money. You see corporations giving money, and we don't need money from corporations. We need money from the government.
Right.
And that is the difference. So can you imagine Martin Luther King, the great mobilizer, Malcolm X, the great organizer, because they were close and people don't even understand that. Can you imagine if they were never assassinated, where we would be at today?
I believe that we would be in a better place. Let me put this on the screen real quick because I'm glad you said that. Here's a nice picture of Malcolm X when he went over, did his pilgrimage. I think he was in Egypt during this time. But let me just say this, that if he was alive, we would be a lot better off, in my opinion, because of what he was doing with his organization in terms of making the connections with Africa and other nations around the world, which is why they had to let him go. And once again, he is an example. Malcolm X is an example, as well as Dr. King, that he moved the crowd. He mobilized people with just his words, but his words would make you get out there and do something. And we don't have any leaders like this walking around today. What we have is what you see is Negroes on MSNBC, CNN, the Van Joneses of the world talking, the doctor, professor. I can talk a lot, I can use fancy words. We get all these individuals that are chosen Negroes to be on primetime television talking about what's wrong with black people, but none of them are in a position or really are doing anything that's moving the crowd to get out there and activate. The black people who went out there that are protesting right now, they didn't have any individual leaders. It wasn't the Black Caucus. It wasn't no politician saying, get out there and do anything. They're trying to pacify us and tell us not to go out there. And that's why they create these curfews right now. And so we really don't have, and this is sad to say, but we don't really have true black leadership. This is what I want to ask you going into this area here. You see everyone, what is your impression of the black women who made that Beg You Master video talking about Joe Biden, black women support you more than anyone else. Joe Biden, come on, Joe Biden, you need a black woman to be vice president. What is your opinion about this issue around should Joe Biden pick a black woman to be, as you see on the screen there, folks, to be vice president? As black women have, I have to say this, I felt the video was a beg for the cornbread. But you go ahead and make your own interpretation, sister. Go ahead.
I don't have an opinion of it. It was a waste of time. It was a video not begging for cornbread. That was a video of certain black women just trying to get a position of more power because they are in a position of influence in their fields. But they're trying to get to the White House because if you are working in the White House or you got connection in the White House, that's going to benefit your pocket and your organization for self. I just saw a whole bunch of black women just lobbying for their own self needs. I still got to swing back.
Yeah,
be honest. First of all, that was a waste of time because if he actually, you have to look at America is 76% white. If he picks a black VP, Joe Biden, he's going to lose. That's one. You have a better chance of winning if it's a black woman running for president and she has a white man as her VP. But anyway, I got to go back to MLK and Martin Luther King, because you have to understand. So that commercial was nothing but a big distraction. What we need, if Martin Luther King actually went to Africa, he went to Ghana. He went to Ghana. I forgot, I'm horrible with names, but it was when they gained independence from Britain. That president, he was there for that, and it's you have to go beyond the pictures and the symbolism.
Okay.
When Malcolm X was over there, and people was like, "Oh, he's over there to go to Hajj." No, he was actually meeting with leaders and presidents of different African countries. Martin Luther King and Malcolm X were building a Silk Road for Black people here in America, there in Africa, and anywhere else. They were building a Silk Road for us to have in the continent of Africa. But who's there right now building a Silk Road in East Africa? The Chinese.
Chinese. They're all over Africa. And I've got a serious problem with that,
So
because
let me just say this.
Go ahead.
So
Yes.
if we are not programming ourselves to think logically or in an organizational kind of way, you know what I'm saying? And
Yes.
we have to think like we're building a Silk Road. We need to build a Silk Road here in America and abroad. And if we're not thinking that, and we're not pushing and demanding and fighting towards that, then we're going to be lost forever.
Okay. No, what you said was profound. They were building something, and that's why they had to be eliminated in the way that they were, because they did not want us to branch that gap and come together in unity, because we would be a powerful force. They understand that the continent of Africa is the future and it's powerful. And that's why, Black people in America who say things like, I'm not going to Africa, I'm not this and that. I don't think you realize how powerful Africa is going to be going into the future. And because they have the youngest demographics there, they are a young country. America is an old country. We're aging. And economically, things are changing. America economically is not as strong as we think we are. Let me ask you this question here. In terms of what you see on the screen here with young black man and young black woman there, you see oftentimes on YouTube, and I got to tell the truth because that's what it's all about. We see oftentimes on YouTube and in general where we have conversations about what's wrong with black women, what's wrong with black men. It seems to be this whole fight between sexist race, which I'm not into all of that nonsense. As a black man, you choose the woman that you choose, and you get what you get based on how you choose women, how you go about choosing your mate. And then if you choose the wrong mate because you were focused on how the woman looks sexually, but you didn't focus on where her mind was at, then you get what you get. But in my opinion, my thoughts is that we need each other. Black women and black men are interconnected. You cannot have masculine energy without feminine energy, and you can't have feminine energy without masculine energy. And I believe that what's happening to black people in America is black women and black men, because family is the basics of everything, is that some of us are currently out of balance. We're out of what God intended for us. So I would ask you, sister, what will it take, if anything, if we have this problem, in your opinion, for us to get back to the balance of being the gods that we want to say we are when we say that he's a king and she's a queen? What is it going to take for us to get back to that balance that God intended for us?
You really have to have respect for yourself. You really have to love yourself first. And you really have to have respect and love for, your fellow man or woman. It's all about respect. But how can you respect somebody if you don't respect yourself? How can you love somebody when you don't love yourself? And love yourself meaning taking care of yourself, what you eat, how you think, how you live, your intentions in life, knowing what you want and what you don't want, healing from your pain. Because Black people, we do suffer. And I include myself from PTSD, and we don't even realize it. We suffer from all type of traumatic things that happen to us especially in our childhood. There are a lot of women who were molested, sexually assaulted before they even turned 10 or 15. And then what I come to find out within the last year, it's a lot of that happened to a lot of Black men. It's probably equal. So it's a lot of damage that we need to start healing. So in order for us to stop having this discourse between each other, Black men and Black women, we really need to start healing ourselves, loving ourselves, respecting ourselves. We really need to seek help for our mental. I don't care if you make 100 grand. I don't care if you make $1 million plus, if you're wealthy, rich, or poor. I don't care if you make 20,000 a year. It is stressful being Black in America. And it's stressful being Black in other places throughout this world, but we're just focused here on America. It's stressful from the time you were born. And how do you cope with that?
Well, I'm going to tell you.
And we don't have that conversation because honestly, it's not entertaining. It's not fun. People are in denial.
Yes.
But that is a conversation that we need to have.
Yes. Yes. You're absolutely right. And there's been studies on this. I was going to do a video on this around. They're finding that one of the other things that you can put in there as part of why we have health problems is racism. There are studies that show that being a Black man, a Black woman in this world, because we deal with stress of what racism does to us, environmental racism, economic racism, that's part of it. All these different things around race in this country, in this world, has an adverse effect on our health because we're so damn stressed out all the time that it is causing a lot of Black people to spike up and die. That people are going to say that we're dying from COVID-19. No, we're dying from the stress of being Black in this world, in this country, and the stress of racism, which makes us what? Gives us pre-existing conditions. And then if COVID-19 comes into the picture, well, then we're wiped out. Let me ask you this question, too. This goes back to Black women and Black men. For the purpose of what I'm asking you, I put this picture up because it's about Black marriage, and I want to ask you your opinion about Black marriage. I did a video that people slept on, and I broke down the statistical numbers that puts a fallacy on the fact that Black women don't ever get married. Now, there are Black women that go and never get married, but actually there are Black women getting married more than we think and more than what is being reported. And when Black men do get married statistically, because we talk about you got the whole interracial situation going on, but when Black men do get married, on the average, they do tend to marry Black women. What is your thought about marriage? Because we can hear it on YouTube where Black men on these platforms are saying that you should not get married because it's not a win-win for Black men when it comes to child support, losing all your shit, things of that nature. But the basis of all things in life is family, connection. What was one of the things that Black people did when they came out of slavery into Reconstruction, Sister Dana? They got married. They understood the importance of family structure. What is your thoughts?
Well, I would say the Black marriage rate is pretty low, here in America, and that contributes to a lot of factors. A lot of our men are locked up. You're talking mass incarceration has destroyed the Black family. And now come to find out when the numbers come out and the information comes out, a lot of them, the saying was a lot of people locked up saying I'm innocent, but it was true. A lot of them should not have been in jail, and certainly for not that long. So, but when Black women are not really getting married as much as white women. I have this book called Black Stats, and it said 28% of Black women are married compared with 54% of white women. So when you compare us to other races, we are less likely to be married, but a lot of our men are killed in jail. So if we had the same starting point or the same equal rights as everybody else, you will see a higher rate in marriage. But I will say this, we tend to marry each other. That's over 80% of the time. The way people are living today, to where women, we do have a lot of choices. We can have careers, we can make money, we could travel. So they kind of put family on hold, and you have a right to if you want to. So we have to look at that factor of as far as lifestyle. And then too, a lot of people don't know how to be a wife, don't know how to be a husband, because who taught us? Where was that example? You have to set examples. If you don't have community, when you look at other races, or other backgrounds of people, they have examples of community, of family, whether it's arranged or whether it's just embedded in them, So, and the reason why you get married is to blend resources. So if we don't have a sense of unity and organization within our community, that same outlook of discourse is going to reflect how we, view family and what our family makeup looks like. So yeah, you see a lot of single mothers. And that's not because she just wanted to be a single mother, and I'm not saying it's all the man's fault, but I know a lot of women who are single mothers, but I also know majority of those single mothers, their men are dead or in jail. So it's not always, oh, he didn't want to be a dad or she didn't want the dad in the life. Is really how this racism, which is a social construct, how it demonized and destroyed the Black family, first and foremost.
Let me say this to folks in the chat room. I know there's something going on in the chat room. I think Brother Underrated Darkness is saying that his comments or something, and he's a mod in the chat room. Comments are being taken out. I don't know. I'm not using any Nightbot or anything like that. It could be YouTube doing this, okay? You could be, because I think I only have the power or to take those comments away when you are a mod. So I'm not taking anything away. I'm too focused on what Sister Dana is saying. So whatever's going on could be beyond YouTube. They try to suppress real talk, conversations that get to real issues. Let me ask you this, and peace to let me say shout out to some folks in the chat room while I'm at it. We've got King Hood is in the house. Penny Sparks, thank you for being here. Tim MT, Little Rock 2517's in the house. Cugent 87 in the house. My man Tone Malone 1 is in the house. Casper 78694 is coming in the house. Good to see you. L Boogie's in the house. Jamal James is coming in the house. Fly Seas. I'm glad to see some of the folks that have come in. Ron Black is in the house. We got the Black Cyber Network that's coming in the house as well. And I know people are coming in, as step by step as they can. And there'll be a lot more people that will be watching this after this program is over. Let me get back to my guest right now that I have on is the real Dana. Just so you know, I have in the description of this video her link to her channel. I would advise you to go over and check it out and subscribe. And like I said before, we're not all monolithic. Black people have many thoughts, many experiences. We have many backgrounds. So very important. Let me ask you this other question here that I want to get your thought on. I heard you on your channel, sister, talk about creating a vision board. And and every year I always do a vision type video about when we go into the new year, right? Break down what your philosophy is, sister, as it relates to creating a vision as you go into the future, as you go into a new year, or just right now?
Yeah, well, I gotta admit, that was my goal, to do a vision board. And shame on me, I haven't started mine yet. And maybe that's why I notice when you sit and you write down what you want to do, what you plan on doing, just planning, it helps you to organize, and actually it pushes you a step further to accomplish your goals. But a vision board, you have to envision, yourself at a certain point in your life, at a certain place, mentally, physically, emotionally, economically. So, a lot of, and where I got this idea from, I saw a lot of Black women on social media and people in my family, they're doing vision boards like around December, around the New Year's, and around January. And they have vision board parties, because people want to become a business person or they want families or whatever. So I kind of got the idea from Black women. And I'm like, that's a great thing to do, because I notice myself whenever I write down something, or if I'm journaling, what I'm going through, or what I want to see happen, it does come to fruition. So that is the purpose to me for a vision board, is to see yourself, whether it's in the now or in the future, so that whatever you want and whatever goals you're trying to accomplish, you can work towards that. So, so you can make it happen. But I'm going to admit, I'm only human. And I think with this coronavirus, I didn't do my vision board yet, but it's never too late to start. But the purpose of a vision board is to envision where you want to go and where do you see yourself. And sometimes that could be a hard thing, because do we actually ask ourselves what we want, what we need? A lot of us don't. We say, we want something, right? But do you know how to obtain it?
Right.
So a vision board kind of lets you put what you want up there, but spiritually and energy wise, consciously and unconsciously, you're able to start figuring out how to obtain it.
Wow. So what do you think? So given that you talked about a vision board, right? And maybe that's exactly what we need to do as Black people, as a people, is create a vision board as to where we want to go as a people, whether it be politically, economically, socially, education wise. And as you said, we need to become power brokers to demand what we want. And you said, okay, like you said, okay, a politician can say what they don't want to do, but at the end of the day, we've got to make a demand and make them do what we want them to do, because they work for us and we don't work for them. Although I have my indifference about politics, very important points. Now, let me bring this up to you. This has been the issue before we even start talking about what happened to George Floyd. Prior to George Floyd, this has been the issue throughout the country, throughout the world, and that is the issue of COVID-19 coronavirus. And now we are living in the age of wearing masks on our face, whatever people want to do out there. Some people say, no, don't wear no mask because this is phony. This is made in a laboratory. This is a government conspiracy to put us in martial law. No, this is real. No, you should actually work on your health, eat well, get outside and get vitamin D, boost your immune system to fight against this. What is your interpretation or your belief or thoughts, your feelings about COVID-19 as we're living through it right now?
Well, I mean, it is a real virus. It killed a lot of people, but the number of people, the percentage that died from this compared to the percentage of other viruses that people die for annually, should it have been a pandemic nationwide, worldwide? No. But let's just focus here in America. Absolutely not. It is real, but I don't like to wear a mask. I don't wear a mask. In New Jersey, you have to wear a mask when you go into a store or an establishment. But when I was in North Carolina, it was recommended as opposed to being required. And maybe that's a difference between a red and blue state. I think it is a way to control society, for the government to control us as, society. It is. And of course, it's affecting Black people more because we already had these health disparities. Again, going back to public policies, for a very long time, Black communities were food deserts, and then when we did have little corner stores, it wasn't healthy food. We didn't practice healthy eating or exercising. So, I think this time, right now, coronavirus is a health crisis, but it also has become an economic crisis, because not only were we affected health wise with mostly affected with the coronavirus health wise, but we are mostly economically affected as well. So
Yes.
going back to reparations,
Mm-hmm.
um, we don't have any economic power. We don't have public health power. We need to start controlling and what we eat. We need to start understanding, the importance of good health and, how to maintain it. So I think, a lot of people have conspiracy theories. You could say, I have little conspiracy theories, but sometimes a lot of these conspiracy theories are actual facts. But I think it was done intentionally. I have been listening to Dr. Batar, and I agree with everything this man is saying. Wearing masks, I think wearing masks it is unhealthy for us to wear masks. It's not natural. Now, if you have an underlying condition, if you're already sick or have a weak immune system, yeah, wear your mask. You should believe in your mask. I'm not wearing a mask. Number one, I can't breathe. It's too hot, and I'm not going to do something as a healthy person to make me sick. Dr.
Mm-hmm.
Fauci has also said recently that he recommends when the vaccination come out, that healthy people should be the first ones to take it, because that vaccination may harm the people who are already sick. So if we take it, right, and because healthy people are probably more likely asymptomatic, we don't have to worry about passing it on to someone who is sick. Do you really think I'm going to take a vaccination as a healthy person so that a person who's already sick won't so-called catch it? No. You need to create a vaccination that's going to help the people that are already sick so that it won't kill them.
Right.
Why would I inject something that's unhealthy in my body to now make me sick? And we have to go back to capitalism. Our country feeds on opiums, opioids.
Mm-hmm.
That is
Mm-hmm.
the $1 trillion industry, the pharmaceutical industry. So they're going to continue to push bad medicine on us because it's profitable. Exploitation. And we are the first ones
Mm-hmm.
to
Mm-hmm.
die from exploitation. We are the first ones to be exploited because just like the coronavirus, we are the first ones. We are dying at a higher rate than anybody else. And then if you broaden it worldwide, look at Brazil, and so this is where my conspiracy go into play, because now they're saying all these people, we should expect all these deaths in Brazil. I don't think so. You know what I'm saying? You look at India, are millions of people dying in India. There's 1 billion people in India. Everyone can't wear a damn mask. If it's that contagious, you don't see a lot of dead bodies in India. So
Well, the situation, this is what I believe is happening in Brazil. A lot of people forget that Brazil is a black country. Do not be fooled by what they present to you on their television screen, where they usually present a lot of the white Brazilians or the Latino Brazilians. It is actually a black country. And what's happening in the favelas, is that a lot of people, that's being reported that people are actually dying up there. You've got the president who doesn't give a damn about doing testing. And this is what I'm saying. Dana. I believe that this is an example of herd immunity. They've been trying to wipe out the black population in Brazil for a long time. It started when they brought other ethnic groups over to the country, thinking that they could kill it out through reproduction, and it did not happen. That black blood could not be erased from the Brazilian bloodstream. So I think that in these cases, they wouldn't love, and you're seeing this, they would love to see nothing but see black people pass away from this. I do believe that there's a lot of propaganda that is going on around this. Let me let everybody know there's a brother right here that I'm going to put on the screen because it goes into what you're talking about here. And let me just do something real quick. I got to take that off the
every
screen.
23 minutes in Brazil, a black person is killed.
Right. You're right. Check this out. Check this out for 1 minute. This brother right here, Brother Keedy, I follow his channel. He's into science. He's written several books. I will be interviewing him soon. He says that this pandemic is nothing but a way to scare us. He says, do you realize that there are more people that die from medical practice that are actually dying from COVID-19, he said, that are actually dying from police killing us, that it's actually the medical establishment that kills a lot of us in the process of trying to deal with our issues. Now, as I said that, here's another thumbnail for you to look at, Sister Dana. This is very important. Can we refuse mandatory vaccines? I've got a video that I have not dropped yet, but what is your thoughts about vaccines? Because we talked about this before on BMT's channel. Will they require us to be able to go to work or have our kids in school by saying, you've got to take this vaccine, if they ever have a vaccine for this COVID-19 situation? Go right ahead.
They're going to have a vaccine because that's money, you know. Now, can we refuse mandatory vaccines? To a certain degree? Yes, we can. But if you work for a private entity, a corporate, a private company, and if they say, well, you have to be vaccinated. Like if you work in a hospital, there's certain vaccinations you have to have, right? And that's kind of understandable because a hospital is just filled with a whole bunch of germs, right? But are private corporations, are they going to start requiring that? See, so if it's not going to, if a legislation is not going to be passed, because under the Constitution, they can and they cannot. And it was this Jewish lawyer saying that the Constitution is under the Constitution. We have no rights under the Constitution to avoid mandatory vaccination. That's just not true. However, because the Constitution is not black and white. The Constitution, it was created to limit federal government having power over states, individual states. But anyway, so the Constitution can protect and not protect our rights for mandatory vaccinations. Is really going to come up to the individual states. You take a state like North Carolina, they don't have mandatory vaccinations, let's say, but if you want to go to public school, you have to have certain vaccinations at certain times. However, your child could be homeschooled and it's just equivalent to public school. So if you're homeschooling or unschooling, you don't have to worry about vaccinations. To where here in the North, in blue states, they're trying to push it to make it mandatory that your children be vaccinated with the damn flu shot and all this other stuff. So it depends where you live at. It also depends about your economic background. It depends on who is representing you, your local officials, and even in the House and in the Senate level. But they're probably going to try and push it to be mandatory. But see, that's really going to be up to us, the people, because I believe people are going to raise hell and protest and riot again if the government tried to make it mandatory on a federal level, even on some state levels, because you understand over 70% of this population is white. It's a lot of white people that are not interested in you making it mandatory because they don't like for you to force anything that's going against their rights. You have people with their guns at the State House in Michigan because they want to get back to work. So can you imagine if the government is saying, if your state governor is saying, okay, you have to get this shot. It's not mandatory to get the flu shot. But a lot of people who get the flu shot annually, is thousands of people dying from the flu annually, more so than this COVID-19. So that's going to be the next big discussion and debate and debacle here in America. Are they going to make it mandatory? I hope they won't. I will not be taking that vaccine if they try to make it mandatory. And I'm a massage therapist and I still won't take that vaccine.
Let me tell you something, sister. I agree with you. After doing some research, and I have a video that I have not released yet. That was what the thumbnail that I had put up that everyone was looking at. And what I found out, not to give all the beans away, is that there are ways that they could make it mandatory based on certain laws. There's been laws about this already. There's been lawsuits in court, but I'll leave it to everyone to see that video when I upload it sometime this week. But you're right. The same white people and people in general that you saw in Michigan raising hell with their guns. And by the way, those white folks didn't get shot or mistreated by the police with their guns, even though the assembly members felt threatened by them. The police stood their ground and never did anything to them. I wonder if black people could do the same thing like that without any treatment. But let me get right back to the point that you made. I think that you are right. And I think it's yet to be seen how they would handle this, because you're right. White people would go buck wild in this country if you told them. Matter of fact, Americans in general, we don't like being told what to do. Now, maybe it's because we are sort of stuck on ourselves as Americans. We've been spoiled having all the things that other countries don't have sometimes in terms of luxury when it comes to poor countries. But it is what it is. We don't like being told what to do. That's why some people will go into a store and they won't have a mask on. You can't tell me what to do.
Yeah, I mean, I will say this: 80%. I believe 80% of the population, when a vaccination do come out, will line up voluntarily to be vaccinated. So you don't have to make it mandatory. You don't have to make it by law, because majority of people are going to get that vaccine anyway, right? But also, as far as talking about the school, because a lot of people don't like Dr. Umar Johnson. I do, especially when it comes to education, because he is the expert. He said parents can use COVID pandemic to keep children out of school. So if you don't want your child to be vaccinated, and if you don't want them to be mandatory vaccinated, because they're going to try to push it on the kids to be vaccinated, I believe, with these public schools. As a parent, you could say, well, you know what? It's not even about the vaccinations. I don't even want my child in school due to the COVID pandemic. And if you take your child out of the school, what's going to happen? They're going to lose money. So
right, they're going to lose money, but they're going to do what's in the bigger picture of public health always. And so if you have something, look, for example, not to get too deep into it, but if you have a situation where you spook the public out, it's going to kill us all. You spook everybody out through the media, they use the mass media. You spook everyone out. Then what we have known through history is that when you use fear, you can cause people to give up their civil union, their rights, all those things. And that has happened when it comes to war. We saw that during 9/11 when we were, quote unquote, attacked. So they tell us, by enemies from the outside. And there's some that believe that was all orchestrated, but they use fear, and Americans are easy. It's easy to create fear for Americans. And when they do that, people will submit to anything when you give them fear. And then the government comes in and says, we can save the day for you. So we have to see what's going to happen down the pipeline with that. I see a lot of great people in the house.
I have a question. Are you going to allow people to come up on the panel today?
I would love to, but the problem is, let's see, it's about 12:30 where I am in the West Coast. I've got my young one coming here soon, so I won't be able, she'll be here in another 30 minutes. I won't be able to do a panel. I'm going to have to tend to my young one when she gets here. I would have, man, if I didn't have her this weekend, I could have. I would love to have a panel. I would love, if you know what I could do. This is what I could do. What I could do is have a panel discussion and let people come on board. And then when my daughter gets here, I'll just have to leave the discussion and mute myself while you guys go in and have the discussion. So that's what I'll do. So while we're continuing, Dana,
can you give me 5 minutes? Like, you ask people if they want to come up.
Yeah. I'm gonna drop a link. Okay, I'll drop a link in the chat room. Let people come up and we talk about it. And then at such time when I hear the knock at my door or the ring, I'm just going to have to mute myself or just have to leave the discussion until I'm in a situation where I can continue the discussion and join the discussion. So anyway, if anybody wants to come up, I'm going to drop the link. This is for people who want to come up and talk about what's going on. If you are a troll, you will be gotten rid of very swiftly. But let me put a link in there and we can have the further discussion, because I think this has been, let me tell you something, Sister Dana. I wish we would have done this a long time ago, because I'm being honest with you. Even if we have some difference of opinions, Dana, I am enjoying the conversation with you. I think people generally are enjoying the conversation as well. We need to have these conversations to manifest change. People are watching these videos on YouTube, and communication is the most important thing. So let me put the link in the chat room right now. And if anybody wants to come up and join the discussion, you're more than welcome. So come on upstairs and join us and continue this conversation with the real Dana, who is the guest of honor here. And if you come up here and join, as you know what my motto is, you must
Tell the truth.
You must tell the truth. If you're going to come upstairs, you must tell truth.
I'm back.
And let me say shout out to everybody that's watching, because I got a nice little, I get a nice little following over in the Twitter and the Periscope area. Hell, might even have more people watching over there that's actually in the YouTube channel right now. Peace to everybody in Periscope watching, and all of you out there. Well, Periscope and Twitter are one and the same. And those that are watching off of Twitter right now live, because I know that sometimes I even get a bigger number of people that are watching on those platforms. And Yard Streams allows you the ability to port your streams over to other platforms as well, which is fantastic. Okay. So if anybody wants to come on board, there goes the link. I put it in the chat room.
And I'm back.
There. Come on upstairs. Don't be shy. Join the discussion, but you must tell the truth. That's the prerequisite.
Tell the truth.
Okay.
I want to
let me
ask
see.
you information, man.
Yeah. Go
You
ahead.
in LA?
No, I live in California, Northern California, not LA.
Okay. Well,
But I'm in California.
how's the comment up there? And two things that, as far as protests and what's going on, like what is going on in your neck of the woods, and what are your thoughts on the LA mayor defunding the police department?
Well, I did a podcast on that, and I did something on my Facebook channel, my Facebook page, which was separate from YouTube, and I piped in the actual commission meeting that was actually live on YouTube. I piped in the audio and did a podcast off of that, and it was interesting because the majority of the people that called in on this online Zoom thing that they were having were white people, and they said they want him and Freeman, Moore, the police chief. They want him to step down. They want the police department to be defunded. We're hearing cries for that across the country. I don't know how realistic that is because, you got to have police department, I guess. But the people in LA, not just black people, but white folks are fed up. And they were cussing and throwing F-bombs and F you. Yeah. And it was mostly white people calling up and they were throwing F-bombs. And I'm going to be honest with you. I actually enjoy listening to white people cuss out other white people because who knows white people better than other white people? Exactly. So they were cussing them out and saying F you and fuck you. And I was like, whoa, I was enjoying it. And you had black people who called up, but it was white folks that was getting up in that ass of that administration. So I was enjoying it.
That's one thing with white people here. They will, they'll be the first ones to tear something up, riot. Well, they've been rioting here since the beginning. We just started rioting and protesting since the 60s. But they know about the science of politics and their rights and what they need to do to make stuff happen,
Yes.
So, yeah.
So we got my man, Underrated One, who's come up on the panel. Everybody, come on up. I see Great Black Shark in there. Come on up. Brother Tone Malone, if you want to come up, come on up. Back to the basics. If you want to come on up. Why is everybody shy? Everybody's putting nice statements and powerful statements in the chat. Let's hear you put those statements out of your mouth on the panel. So come on now. Come one, come all. Of course, don't be a troll or you will be eliminated from the channel. So, brother, Underrated Darkness, unmute yourself, man.
I'm here. What's good?
First of all, let me be the first to tell you, I don't know what was happening in the chat where your comments were disappearing because from what I understand, when you are a mod, other people that are not mods or even other mods can't erase your comments unless I am the one that can erase them. And I can tell you right now, I've been into deep conversation with Sister Dana here, and I wasn't removing any comments. I was looking for the trolls,
I didn't blame you at all. No, I didn't blame you at all, brother.
No, I'm not saying you are. I'm just letting you know that I don't know what's going on. And the only thing I can think of is it could be YouTube because I know that they do look at the chat and what people say in chat rooms, right? And I know I'm not using any kind of night bot or anything like that. So I apologize for whatever's happening.
No, I'm going to say this. And I want the real thing to say this. You know me and you do. We know each other for a long time. Going on a long time, information, man. I have been on your panel, and you have been in mine.
Yes, sir.
And I can say this, that wherever I say, I stand on it. I don't care about society how they feel. I don't care about the oppressed system how they feel. I don't care about certain black women how they feel about me, and that definitely I don't care about certain black men how I feel. But I would say this: until some of these black women to understand that my existence counts, younger black um brothers account that do accounts, and young black boys account, we're gonna have this problem. And I am sick and tired that some of these black women, I'm not saying the real thing, I'm not talking about you because you talk about yourself. But I am sick and tired. We don't talk about Breonna Taylor. We don't talk about the ones in the past. We don't even want to talk about the ones that suffer police brutality, that we forget about them. And I am tired. I am sick and tired that we do not acknowledge their flight. We do not acknowledge their pain. We don't even acknowledge the black man pain that they had to go to lose their sons and lose their nephews and stuff like that. And the social media knows what they doing. And I'm not. And again, I said that in my live last night. So if nobody don't want to believe me, you can go on my live last night. Y'all could hear it yourself. But it seems like the black man is being excluded out, and the LGBT wherever the hell they call. And I put a link on that in my chat on my channel last night. They got the nerve to talk to MSNBC talking about they acknowledge what's going on, but all of a sudden they always want to say that it's all about them, but they always put up last. And there are some black men and there are some black women that work in the panel. Work in the in this mainstream media have refused to dispute that. Even the ones in we gonna say YouTube, but I'm saying throughout social media, they refuse to come after them, and even hundreds of others organizations. And I'm saying, I just turned 54 this past Thursday. I had seen a lot. I don't even supposed to seen a lot of this when I come 54. I had seen brothers getting slaughtered. I had seen sisters getting slaughtered. And I am tired. It seems like with the ones in the past, we want to forget about them, but the ones right here, we want to forget. And I'm saying, what happened to the brother right here, we have to acknowledge that. But let's not get that we're gonna have small memory of the ones had been slaughtered in years and years and years and years, and those families still have to live with the pain for decades and decades and decades and decades. Because I'm saying, I'm a black man. I do damn count. And us as black men, we gotta stop. So we gotta start saying that we do damn count. And there are some women who do not want to acknowledge that. Hell with you. And the same thing that a black woman, she should say the same thing. Brother, I'm just tired. I see a lot of things, man. I see a lot of things that's happening that is not right. I see a lot of things that some of us should talk about it, that we just letting it slide. If we're going to talk about history, damn it, talk to, you know what I'm saying? I'm saying, talk to history to truth. Don't make your own goddamn truth and just, oh yeah, this is it. No, if you're going to speak the truth, stand on the goddamn truth. We are getting slaughtered on numbers more than ever. Let's talk about the legislation of this white supremacy. Let's not keep on talking about this, the white man, the white woman. They are getting help from other units. They are getting help by other races had got somewhat reparations in the past. Let's talk about that.
Well, you know, brother, that I have talked about that. I talked about
I know you do, but there's other ones they haven't.
When the Obama administration gave the, 17 native tribes some form of reparations or some form of money. And then when I think the Do Nothing Black Caucus claimed that they tried to bring an agenda to him, he kind of talked down to them. I got sick of seeing when the beautiful black people who died in South Carolina that were killed, let me correct myself, that were killed by that despicable race soldier. And you had Obama come down there and they were singing in that church and singing hymns when Walter Scott got massacred by that cop. You got black folks singing hymns and all of that. I'm sick of that. We didn't need Obama singing Al Green songs to us. We don't need to be singing. We don't need black folks going to protest and doing a damn electric slide, which was happening in Florida. We don't need black folks sending videos on Facebook of black people making videos out of, you gonna lose your job, police officer. I saw that this morning. Somebody made some goddamn video.
Yeah, I seen something,
some ridiculous crap. See, that's the problem, that a lot of us are not going to be prepared to do what is necessary. And this is why Dana made, in my estimate, some good points, because we've spent too much time playing around and then we're not organized to do what's necessary. You've got white folks in these protests that are doing things and saying things that black people should be taking lead.
Yeah.
We should not allow them to take lead, and then they can also infiltrate us with their agent provocateurs.
Right. And I want to say one thing, information man. You brought up about Nathaniel Woods. Am I correct?
Yes, I did. Nobody gave a damn. I did.
Nobody gave a damn. Did a follow-up of what you talk about Nathaniel Woods on my channel? Am I correct?
You're correct, and nobody gave a damn.
Nobody give a damn. There's been yesterday been 90 goddamn days.
Because everybody wants to talk about how to be an alpha male. If you don't know that by now, then you're already lost. Everybody wants to talk about what's wrong with black women and black men in relationship. Everybody wants advice on how you can get a woman in the goddamn bed. If you don't know how to do that, I'm sorry. You're lost. Okay?
Well,
if you haven't figured that out.
Right, exactly. So I'm gonna go more on my channel, and you was on the panel. And I want people to understand you. Nathaniel Woods had lost his life of this oppressed system. And it is and I'm not saying that what the other ones had lost their life, that has no merit, because it is. But I want you to understand. I want you to go back to Information Man when he talked about Nathaniel Woods. And I want you to speed it up 3 weeks later. That I think it was 2 weeks later, whatever it is, that I talked about it.
I did that on my second channel.
Right, exactly.
My second channel that I did a little podcast on that. You're absolutely right. Let me do this, because we've got Back to the Basics on, and also our esteemed guest, the real Dana. I want to get her in on anything that she agrees with what you had to say, or you may disagree, but because this is all about learning. We don't all have to agree, but we have to at least be honest about that. Black people, we need some type of code of conduct and how we're going to go about getting the changes that we want. And peace to Terry in the chat room. He's got B1 in there. Back to the basics. You've heard the conversation so far with me and the esteemed, the real Dana, and you've heard what Underrated Darkness has had to say when he's come up to the panel. What are your thoughts? I'm going to put another link in the chat room, folks. Go ahead. Back to the basics.
Wow. It's powerful. I'm trying to think where I should actually start. I mean, me personally, I seen somebody in the chat say something about the baby boomers. And all I'm going to say is, listen, we got enough labels and different things that are separating us and dividing us. I mean, we can go all day about who dropped the ball and, a fumble, like a pass interference. Like, we can go all day. The fact of the matter is that we're here now. Black men are under attack. Black women are under attack. as far as all this gender stuff, I really don't care about all that. If you come on my channel with any coon Sambo stuff or just wanting to drag black men, I will literally time you out and throw you out. I'm not about that. I'm about information. I had just did a 90-day revisit to the Nathaniel Woods case due to the laws. I went into the criminal code of Alabama, and let me tell you something. What they did to that young man was such an injustice, such an inhumane, racist hate crime, like domestic terrorism. It's just beyond me. I read from the Alabama criminal code under capital punishment, and I don't see how they even got 10. I don't even see how they even got a 10-2 verdict for him to even get the death penalty when, first of all, he did not pull the trigger, and they had to prove beyond a reasonable doubt, and they did not. So I just labeled that. I just titled that one "The Law Matters" because I was reading from the Alabama State Criminal Code, and I don't see how that young man is not living today, and yet the gunman is. That just messes me up, and it's no disrespect to the family of George Floyd or Ahmaud Arbery or Breonna Taylor and all the other ones who have passed like 400 plus years. It's not to take away from any of that, but just researching the law on that, I'm like, I don't even see how they even did that. And because really in most states, you need 12 jurors to agree to put somebody to death, like a unanimous vote. But it's real interesting how in Alabama, they were the last state to override, like in 2017, like they still had judges that could override the juror's decision. So the jury could say, okay, not guilty, but the judge could still override. So I just find that to be ridiculous. But that was one of the things I wanted to say. And another thing, as far as the gender thing, like I said, if Black men are under attack, Black women are under attack. I don't want to fight with my counterpart. I mean, we're both under attack. We might as well reconcile and do what needs to be done and work together instead of all this unnecessary nonsense.
Right. Yeah, just to piggyback off of when you brought up Nathaniel Woods. I'm totally against the death penalty, period. I think it should be wiped out of the our nation. And in North Carolina right now, they have the North Carolina Racial Justice Act that was passed in 2009. And that's when the Democrats controlled the legislature there. That allows death row defendants to seek to reduce their sentences to life in prison if they could show racial bias played a role in their cases. And but the Republican controlled assembly amended the act 3 years later. And 6 of the death row prisoners who had either received or sought that relief arguing discrimination had tainted their jury trials, took their cases to the Supreme Court. And now the court Friday ruled in favor of 2 of those men. So, and that's part to me. So just bringing that back to this conversation, as far as Black people, we really need to understand the science of politics, because we have a lot of innocent men and women who are getting lengthy sentence or who are just being locked up. They're getting, longer sentence than white people, their white counterpart. And that is because we don't understand what is being pushed on a state level, that's affecting us and part of this mass incarceration and death row. And then also where we also drop the ball at when we're talking about, when people bring up South Carolina and that terrorist attack that happened on the people at the Emmanuel Church, why didn't the people in South Carolina vote or push to have a vote to push for a hate crime? Where was what's his name? Claiborne? I can't stand him. Why didn't Black people force him to push into law a hate crime in South Carolina after that incident? See, these are the things that we have to start doing ourselves and demanding and pushing ourselves, because there's no hate crime in Georgia. There's no hate crime in South Carolina. And I believe it's 2 other states. I don't know if it's Wyoming and South Dakota somewhere. I don't know. Forgot. But look what happened in Georgia with Ahmaud Arbery. They can't even use that. They can't even charge that as a hate crime. So are we pushing for these laws, such as a hate crime law, to be passed in those 2 states? And that is part of our responsibility, because this affects us more so than anybody else. And if we're not taking those steps, that's something big, but it's not big. But if we're not taking those steps on a local state level, then how are you sitting up here, having a disdain or a dislike for Trump? He has nothing to do with your state. So if we don't start taking responsibility, then, we're out there protesting for nothing.
Yeah, I agree with you that we do need to understand politics, and also we have to understand that knowing the law matters, whether if it's criminal code or zoning codes, like whatever type of code, our people need to understand that and not be ignorant as far as that. And like I said, as far as the generation thing, I could really care less, because I could point the finger at a generation Xer. A generation X can point the finger at the baby boomer. The baby boomer could put, it really doesn't matter at this point, because now we're in a dire situation, and where we're gonna have to come together and work together to affect change. Me myself, I'm on the fence, because I'm thinking, okay, if I go back and get a master's degree, should I go be this civil rights lawyer, or should I really go and just continue with medical and be a doctor? But I'm going to have to do something, and I'm going to figure it out. I'm not just going to sit on the sidelines and just watch the whole team go down. I don't want to be one of those people. Now that I'm here in 2020, I plan to stay. I don't plan to just, see something real quick and then just keep right on rolling. I don't want to be one of those people. And I know what some people saying, well, you know what, you're young and you don't understand. Listen, I know I'm a millennial. I'm 34 years old. I was born in 86. But listen, I lost my father this year.
Mm-hmm.
And every time I look in the mirror and I see my dad, it's like, dang, like I have to do something. I can't just sit on the sidelines and just and then watch our people just get T-boned. I just can't do that.
Right. And we have to start mobilizing the right way. And but more so, we're mobilizing now, but organizing. Because what I was gonna say, it was something you said and I totally forgot right now. I just drew a blank. I totally forgot.
How's everybody doing so far?
I just completely drew baby boomers. The baby boomers and the Black population here in America, they hold majority of the wealth in the Black population.
Right.
And that is because, they're the ones who benefited most from the civil rights. But the problem is where they messed up at, they know what it is to organize properly, to create organizations and to actually be active in it. You have to teach the younger generation, but they don't want to. And I am going to say that the majority of them don't want to. Maybe they're too old. Maybe they just have a disdain for the youth, whatever. I don't know. But they hold majority of the wealth, while we are now just scraping to get by. But it's a responsibility. I'm 43. It's a responsibility even for me. It's like I do appreciate the young people out there. Young people should be out there protesting and raising hell, right? Because you have the time to do it. Because you don't have to really get up and go to work. Because you probably still staying at home when you're in college. You have that energy. It's good to see white people there because white people were used in the 60s because they were our shields. Because of course the police department and the army, the National Guard, was not going to kill white people on camera. That's why Martin Luther King mobilized for them to come down to the South to be our shield so we can still push forward. So I don't have a problem with other people from backgrounds coming into the protest or whatever. But when it comes to organizing, you cannot allow outsiders to control it. And that is what is happening. And that's the big problem that I'm having. And as you baby boomers who have the money, who have the knowledge, you refuse to work with and help younger people. I sit on certain organizations. I've been at the table with these people who've been around for many years and very knowledgeable, and they are intimidated with ADOS. Mostly because I don't know. Jealousy is too much of a light word, but mostly because I think it is envy that for so many years and decades, you've been pushing for quote unquote reparations, but it was the younger generation, my generation and younger, that really had it start, really spark, really let it get national attention. And that's why we had that committee meeting last year out of 30 plus years because of the ADOS movement. That was young people. And they refused to even acknowledge that and to work with Yvette Carnell, with a Tone Talks, with a Tariq Nasheed. Mm-hmm. So, it's a responsibility that we have to guide young people, and you have to make sure that you stay Black. And when I mean that, remember to Do the Right Thing. Who was that character, that Black guy? And he always say stay Black or whatever. That's a conscious thing. You have to be proud to say you Black, to be Black, to love Black. You have to love everything about Blackness, even the bad parts. So it is. Go ahead.
Let me ask this question now, because we got L Boogie. Sister says here, if I'm saying her name right, and I appreciate you being here, by the way, sister, and putting this in the chat. She says, thinking that this isn't your country is part of the problem. Now, this is a polarizing question because we have those of us who are saying that we need to make the move to Africa, leave this place. Marcus Garvey was pushing the same narrative that, hey, leave America, make another place somewhere in the continent. How is everyone's opinions about that, whether it be in the chat or on the panel? Should Black people just pack up our bags and leave here? Even though we got a lot of lineage in this country, we've built this country. A lot of the inventions that people are benefiting from is because of what our ancestors have built. What is the thoughts there?
Well,
I'm not going. Oh, sorry.
No, you can go ahead. I'll go after.
Oh, I was going to say, I'm not going anywhere. I'm not retreating. I'm not running anywhere. That's what I'm going to say. I was born here. So, and it's no disrespect to those, in Africa or anything like that. Shoot, I got a passport. So, hey, but I'm not retreating. I mean, why?
Well, where are we going? And if we do go to Africa, which is a continent, what country and what do you want to do there? Do you know how that economy, their makeup of their economy, their infrastructure? How are you going to contribute? Do you know how to, do we have engineers and doctors that could go to another country and contribute to their infrastructure? So we're not even prepared to go somewhere and contribute. And certain countries in Africa, I don't think we will last there. They don't have unemployment. They don't have Social Security. What do their healthcare system look like? 46% of the people in Nigeria right now live below the poverty line. That means the other, 50+% are above poverty, but they're not wealthy.
Oh, you know what, Dana? That is a powerful point that you just made. When Black people decide that we want to make a move from America, how many of us have actually gone over there and done investigation to find out all those things that you're talking about? What is their retirement system? What is their, you're right. Go ahead, brother, Underrated Darkness.
I could tell you this, and I could debunk what other y'all saying. They are brothers and sisters have been to Africa. There are certain parts of Africa had acknowledged us, and they had they had went there and they have made great strides in it. But see, this is the problem. The problem is that we do not want to do enough. We do not want to do enough investigation. How the brothers sisters had left here and go to Africa, and they make there are some of them that I know personally. That they said they better off in a certain part. I'm talking about certain parts of Africa that they doing all right. And there are certain countries of Africa has offered them land, has offered them prestige, has offered them things so they could be whole. And so we have to do, us as African descent of this country. And I'm saying it's up to us. It's an individual that we have to do this. We have to make a stand. We have to make a decide. Are we gonna stay in this country, or are we gonna stay in Africa, or we gonna go other countries to make sure that our family would be straight? But I would say this though too, that the motherland and this country have to make a stand. We have to have a very serious conversation. Yes. We have to say, look, this oppressed system has caused conflict on us for a very, very long time. And we have to understand what we're going to do. And until we understand that very seriously, and I'm just talking for me from seeing what I see, until we understand that this oppressed system is playing games, we're going to still have these conversations. We're still going to have these conversations. And also we better understand of this government has given certain privilege of certain Africans of they country to come here too. So there are some of them come here too. They figure that they better than us, so they get diplomats. They get all the prestige through that too. That we fail to understand to study too.
Right.
So we have to go. We have to study into that too. We have to look into that too. And
also, a lot of black people in America. I'm sorry.
Let me finish. Because just like I said, I was born and raised in New York, so I know what I'm talking about, and I seen it myself, and I see the ripple effect of our people of this country, and even the rest of the world.
A lot of black people here can't even afford a passport. So if you do decide to go to Africa and just to go to live and open up a business or even have a little bit of land, that's not part of the infrastructure. You're just contributing to the economy, and that is fine. But the fact is that a lot of people can't even afford to do that because you're poor here. So first of all, I don't leave money on the table. I'm owed something here in this country, and I will be fighting to get it and demanding it. However, I don't see there's nothing against going to certain countries in Africa and investing and then bridging gaps for business, but you have to already know how to operate that business. You definitely have to have connections here and there. So that means you have to know how the system in certain countries in Africa work. There's countries in Africa that no, I will not go to because they're unstable economically, military wise. I don't want to be in a country. And what if a coup happens and you're in the middle of a coup? You give it your citizenship here in America, because that American passport goes a very long way. Because if I'm traveling to a certain country and a coup pops up, I'm able to get out. But the people that live there, they're fucked basically. So I don't desire to live in a country like that, especially if I'm over here and I'm dealing with this stuff here, but I know my rights. I know, okay, yeah, we dealing with police brutality, but I'm also dealing with crimes that happen in my own community. I am quick to call the cops on somebody in my community if they're out of pocket. Yes. Like, we really do have to be policing our community. So, I just think you're right. You're underrated. You're absolutely right. You have to do the research. You have to understand what is going on, where you want to go to. But I just know here a lot of people can't even afford to do that. They can't even afford a passport.
Well,
and I mean to cut you off, and to understand this though too, that because I had to do my own investigation back in '85 when I was 19. Information. I meant to talk to you about that too back last year, because I remember you talk about that too, and and you know what I'm talking about. So wherever you talks about the information, when I'm getting to talk about, please go back and listen to that, because it's very, very important. I remember when I did this investigation. This is '85. This is I was 19. Do you know that when you become a diplomat of this country, I'm talking about this country, there are a lot of perks that comes with it. And I'm not going to get into that, because
one of those perks, your children go to school for free anywhere in this world. Right, not just you, with your children, your family. It's a lot of perks.
Yeah, it's a lot of perks. But the perks I'm talking about, I know my channel gonna get shut down, so I'm not gonna get into that. But I advise y'all need to get into that. And that's why there are a certain disconnect of Africans of the motherland and even Africans in this country. And I'm telling you, the information have I seen, and I'm telling you, they took it off too. But I'm saying you can get, if you know there's certain codes you can get into, you can tap it. What I see in '85, it would shake your head how this oppressed system had us against each other. They are certain. I'm talking about all the things that they talking about. White supremacy has their name all around it. The policies behind the information, man. You know what I'm talking about, because you did a show about this last year. What I see in '85, and I'm not saying it's shocking to me, but I'm talking about a person that's born and raised in New York and see what I see. Imagine what it is right now. And I'm talking about even before that. I'm telling you, it shook me. I'm like, these Africans don't even know what's going on. But oppressed, I'm talking about white supremacy. They even had legislation of diplomacy, family, and I'm talking about in '85. So that means that means what's going on. It was way before '85, and I want y'all to think about that very, very carefully. And again, I'm gonna mute myself. And I'm saying, when I see this information, this is back in '85, and we're in 2020, and I mute myself.
Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm just gonna unmute to introduce myself. I'm Brother Sanchez, and I'm just here to give a shout out to my big bro Info Man for having this. I think this is a powerful bill right here that y'all having. Shout out to you, the real Dana. Back to the basics, the brother underrated one. I guess what I can do real quick. I don't know what happened to Info Man. He hopped up. I guess he'll be hopping back on. But shout out to him. I wanted to introduce something into the conversation. What do you guys think about this, right? Could it be that most of our problems as a people is founded on how we identify ourselves as a people?
Well, you mean like elaborate a little bit on that?
Yeah, for example, right? We say that we're enslaved people. They look at us as 3/4 human, but could it be that we identify ourselves as 3/4 of what we are? For example, right? If I say I'm a black man, that's an adjective and a noun. A man is a noun. We're all nouns, right? So I say, why would I identify as the adjective to describe the noun? Because the adjective that's describing that noun is only 3/4 of the subject, which will make me 3/4 of a man if I identify by that which describes me and not me. So, for example, like we're over here trying to get our reparations and all of that, but they don't owe reparations to African Americans.
Who don't?
They owe reparations to Americans, period. We are the real Americans. Like white people don't say we're European Americans. They just say we're Americans. And I think that we're the true Americans, indigenous people to this land, and that they're trying to sell us the out of Africa stuff to keep us from our birthright or whatever.
Well, the first part, I agree with you. If you look at your, as far as a man and you put an adjective before that, yeah, I agree with you. And I think people unconsciously believe they are 3/5 of human, which probably contributes to the way they think today, you know what I'm saying, and how they operate on what they do or whatever. But we are American descendants of slavery, and we are owed reparations because this country was built on the backs of blacks for free. Period. We're talking about slavery. We're talking about Reconstruction. We're talking about Jim Crow, mass incarceration. So police brutality. So no, we're all reparations. Yeah, we are Americans. We were born and raised here. We built this country. We don't have generational wealth because it was stolen from us. We don't have land because it was stolen from us. So we are owed reparations. The same way the Jews get reparations from America, and we ain't had nothing to do with the Holocaust.
Let me ask a question to you, Nana. The question I'm asking, because I know we're owed reparations, I'm asking you, who do I write to check to? So if the white man said we're gonna write this huge check to this group of people, and their leaders are divvy it up amongst them according to their bloodlines and all that good stuff. We know different folks will get different stuff. But who do I write it to? Like, if I owe somebody and I write them the check to the wrong name, it's void. Like,
it's not really about writing a specific. Some people do get specific checks. So some people will get specific checks depending on your lineage. You could trace back your lineage. You could trace back who is an American descendant of slavery, right? You could trace back who is a black immigrant because they will not get reparations here in America. If you came here, let's say in 1920 from like Stokely Carmichael, I believe his parents came here in the 20s or the 30s or something like that. And so if you came here, let's say during Jim Crow, and you marked off Black American or African American here, you will be owed reparations due to one of the Jim Crows that you suffered under. But you can trace back who is American descendant of slavery, just like CARICOM. That's reparations for people from the Caribbean diaspora. They are all reparations, whether they're here in America or they're now. That's your lineage. So it can be, you can be very specific on who's going to get a check or public policies and stuff like that.
Yeah, and also let me go more on the point. And this I understand, brother, is this that let's stop saying white supremacy that it's just Europeans. They getting help from other races.
Right.
We have to understand that very loud and clear. And when I'm talking about diplomacy, I'm talking about diplomacy of other races have played the part in hindering of us as Africans to be as whole, because there's no doubt about it. I am whole. I know who I am. I know what I stand on. I know what my late parents stand on. So I'm talking for me. So let's get goddamn straight.
I don't let no policy define who the fuck we am or who I am. But I can tell you this, this is in the books, and we have to acknowledge that, and we have to understand this too, that the part of this gender fight that is happening, that is got part of what's going on, and we have to see for what it is. And until we understand of the whole right of this policy, and I'm talking about of different branches, what they stand for. And I told people this too, and me, Information Man, was talking about even back to basics, and even other ones that I'm talking about in the past. We got to talk about the DC Democrats had gained reparation to the $5 Indians, and those are the same ones that have enslaved our people back in the mid 1865 treaty that Dr. Clark Anson was really talking about, even beyond 50 years ago, that we don't even want to talk about that. But I'm not going to talk about that because that is another conversation. But this is a prevalent that is along what's going on right now. Yes, but what I'm saying is this: we have to pay attention of the policies that they have put upon us for hundreds of years, and it does play a vital role of us as a people. And until we understand the psychic, and I'm talking about everything that is put into, we still is going to be lost. And I'm just saying this out of respect. We have to pay attention of the politics. And instead of we just keep on talking and just moving our mouths about it, we better pay attention of the policies that they have put upon us for a very long time. Only they just monetize it. That's all they doing. But we have to show our younger kids, we have to teach other people that maybe it's all about survival, because we have to talk about some of our people, it's all about survival. So we cannot forget about them either. You hear what I'm saying? So what we have to do, we have to cover everything, not just certain things for convenience to look all big and everything. And that's what I'm coming from. I want to cover everything. If there's certain things that I don't know and everything, yeah, show me so we can mobilize as a people. There's a lot of us. There are some of us that want to look all big, but when it comes to mobilize as a people, we stand back, and all of a sudden we just want to gain prominence. We just want to gain fame. No, I'm tired of BS. I am tired of the BS. The Al Sharptons and the other ones of the caucus. They are sitting back, so they're sitting back of us while we in despair, while we hurting each other, and at the same time, the us are here. And I'm not saying that we are doing great gala because we are, but that is the problem. They want to make it as convenience. No, hell with the convenience. We are hurting as a people. What we have to do, we have to make a decision. They got to get their asses out of here. Give it to the ones that is willing to stand up against this oppressed system, even if it depends on my life. And that's all I'm going to say. And I would die for our people. I don't care. And that is the thing that we have to understand, because this system is not going to give it to us that way. We have to mobilize, and we have to understand. And also we have to understand to do things underground too. That we are failing for the last goddamn century. I mean, last goddamn decades. And I'm just gonna fall back on it.
If I could make 2 points.
Thank you.
If I can make 2 points to what Brother Sanchez had said, because I see where you were going with it, because you said, again, if a person is writing a check, you need to write exactly like the right proper name, paid to the order of whomever. Well, it's not going to be African Americans, because Information Man, he did a video saying that was a name that was put on us to identify us as property. So it's not going to be paid to the order of African Americans. I would say it's probably going to be paid to the order of autos. That's what I would say as far as what you were saying there. And then getting back to where you said as far as the noun and the adjective, there are many labels. There are so many labels in society till it's ridiculous. We can talk about religion. We can talk about, I mean, does it really matter if I'm rocking with the Nation of Islam or if I'm a Buddhist or if, I mean, who cares about that? Those are just labels to divide us so that keep us from coming together.
Not to cut you off, back to the basics, but this is the problem. Those are the labels that we put on each other. We've got black folks running around and don't want to deal with other black folks because he's a Muslim, he's a Moor. See, we put these labels on ourselves because we want to feel good about ourselves because we have some psychological pain. So we come up with, I'm a Moor. We want to identify with something that makes us feel good about ourselves. That's what humans do psychologically. And then we get caught up, you see it, and shout out to Brother Sinetta, you see the debates where people talk about their religion and who founded this. And I'm saying to myself, okay, we can talk about pyramids and all this stuff to the crows come home. But how is the pyramids and all that religious knowledge, how is that, what is it doing directly to benefit black people today when it comes to the issues that are most prevalent in our communities? Where is our goddamn pyramid right now? Why haven't we built such pyramid now?
I would say that it's not beneficial. But like I said, as the ordained minister, I had to step out of the black church. I had to find spirituality. I had to get away from religion because it almost killed me.
No, I mean, don't get me wrong. Knowing one's history is important. But if we're going to talk about that, where is our metaphysics? Where is our as a metaphor, where is our pyramid? That knowledge should be empowering us to do what is necessary today, not dividing us by I'm a this, I'm a that, I'm a pyramid head. You're an Afro head. Sanchez is a science head.
But this is where thinking for ourselves comes into play, because I had to start thinking for myself. Yeah, I read the Bible and different things, but at the same time, I didn't want that Bible to be thinking for me. I had to, take a step back and really think outside of the box.
Right. Religion is a big distraction.
It is, because I'm like, okay, I see this over here, but yet y'all want to pass the collection plate like 3 times during the service, but yet you guys will say, oh, if you just trust in the Lord. I'm like, really?
That's one of the reasons, me personally, why I got out of Pan-Africanism too, because I found out that was just Christianity chocolate coated. But the thing that I think we get all of the debates for and all of that with the Moors versus the Hebrews, I think that's part of our identity crisis, where some people say, hey, we're the Moors. Nope, we're the Hebrews. Nope, we're Africans. Nope, we've been in America. We're indigenous copper-colored Indians here, and you got so many of these different groups. And I think that is black people's attempt to identify ourselves as a whole, to unite. But when we do that, the total opposite happens. We divide. So I think that the problem with that is you have a group of people trying to identify themselves based upon where they think they're being. And the only way you can identify a group of people is based upon the mindset that the collective had when they was great. Like, no matter where we was, whether we was in Africa, India, the Moorish Empire, we can't identify by the geographics. I think most powerful groups of people identify by a common mindset that they all share, like the Jews, right? Ain't no land.
That's true.
You see what I'm saying? Yeah.
Well, Brother Sanchez, let me ask you this question. Would you agree with me or not agree with me that this whole thing about race and color is a social construct? And is it possible for us to, if what I'm saying is true, is it possible for us to break through the barriers of these social constructs to become who we really are?
Yeah, but I think it's gonna take to actually break from the barriers of the social construct, we got to go back to what I was saying a minute ago. We have to identify ourselves, because what our identity has been given to us for all of these past generations. You've been Negro American, Afro American, African American, Black American, Colored American. You got so many titles, and they, you know what I'm saying? And we haven't picked none of those titles. I think as a people, we need to identify by something that we all can agree on, instead of, for example, if I say, well, we're Black Americans, somebody can be like, well, I don't consider myself Black. Or if I say we African Americans, somebody that's in my people can be like, well, I don't fuck with Africa, I believe I'm American. So we got to come with a universal title that no one can disagree. Everybody be like, yep, we that. So if I be like oppressed Americans, I don't give a fuck if you more Hebrew, Black, Africa. I don't care what your ideology is. You know you oppressed, right? And that'll be a type. You see what I'm saying? So we're making our identity based upon the wrong that was committed to the group. For example, if we were slaves, that means someone thrusted us into oppression. So our adjective to identify the group that should be get reparations for that action would be the oppressed people. Or like if I go up in a building and I start shooting, everyone that gets shot, they need to get justice for what I did to them. But how would they identify as a group? They would say the people that got shot.
Okay,
that's true.
But see, I would say this underrated. Well, I would say this, brother. Of all due respect, we came here against our will. And so you say that, I get what you're saying. What I get from it, that we got to forget about our ancestors had come here that made a contribution in this country and beyond that and throughout the world. So my thing is this: I'm in this country against my will, but I have to understand this too, that our ancestors have made major contributions, has stand up, even despite it was against them, but they stand up. And so my thing is this, that there are some in the past that I know had went to Africa, had went to other parts of the world. They tend to forget the contributions, what happened in the USA. And then let's get, we want to get more bold. Let's get one more bold on that. This not the first time we have been enslaved. The Arabs had enslaved us thousands of years, even beyond that. We don't even want to talk about that. And there are some that still have
talk about what?
Huh?
You said we were enslaved.
I'm talking about the Arabs. I'm talking about the Arabs.
Oh yeah. That was the biggest slave trade.
That was the biggest slave trade, and we don't want to talk about that.
We know that the slave trade was global. We know that the slave trade was a global phenomenon in which the world was hooked on sugar. They put people on these plantations, and we know that every group of people had their hands in it because there was profit in it. But I think what black people are not prepared to really understand is this is why you have people who speak about being indigenous to what we call North America, is that can we wrap our heads into the concept of realizing that there were black people that were here in what we call North America who did not get here because they got here through a slave ship that were here. And the reason why I say this, because if we're going to call ourselves melanated people, dark matter, then, and every time they do, scientific digs around the world, they always find black bones. They even did digs in what we call Israel over there, and they found that there was a presence of black people there. We're all over the world. And so my philosophy is that you don't always have to get into the debates about where we're from necessarily. We need to identify, though, but the whole damn globe and planet belongs to black people because we're all over the goddamn globe and underneath the earth. So we're everywhere. That's where I come down on this. But we need to recognize that yes, there were black people that were removed from the continent of Africa who we have ancestry to, and then there were black people that were already here. And going back to social constructs, those native people that were here that were dark race of people, they also got labeled with the term Negro. And they put us all into this bag of Negro. Like Brother Sanchez was saying, we went from Negro to colored. They put us into this label when in fact there were people here that were not necessarily in slavery, that of course they could actually put into slavery as they got this whole machine moving forward. So that's why you can't we can't discount people who do talk about black people having indigenous connection to the land that we're living on. I just
I'm not saying that at all. I'm not saying no. This is what I'm saying is this, that that conversation got to have happened too. And also we gotta understand though too, there are black men have been fought in wars even in the 1800s that we don't want to talk about. And I give you a case in point, born and raised in Brooklyn, New York, and I know this is fact that Fort Greene Park in Brooklyn, that was part of the Civil War. There's a lot of bones of black men underneath on the hill. And that is fact. But see, we don't want to talk about that because, I know this for a fact. And so we have to understand we got to continue these conversations that we are all around the world. Yes, but to understand though too, and I have to say this too, that white supremacy policies is not just the United States; it is global.
Yes, it's a global,
and we have to talk more about that.
Now, let me throw this.
I think that's the key.
Okay, let me throw this out there. I must say this to be fair about this whole discussion. There are those out there that would say to us as black people in America, "You're playing the race card. Why don't you stop complaining about what white supremacy is when you know what it is? Go and do something about it. What are you going to do about it? You know what's happening, so do something about it. Have a code of conduct in the way you operate to fight through it. Don't let it stop you." Hey, other groups have come over here and they're doing fine. They're not letting it stop them. Asians, Chinese, Russians, Italians, other groups, people that make these arguments. You've got even Africans that come over here from the continent and they're able to make a way for themselves. They're not letting white supremacy get in the way, or some would say that it doesn't exist. What are you talking about? White people are not supreme, which I don't believe they are supreme personally, but for the sake of the argument, there are people that are saying that. Come on, get off of that, man. You're in America. You know goddamn well you're not ready to pack your bags and run over to Africa. So what are you complaining about? Now, that's for the sake of the damn argument, brother. Now, who wants to get a taste of that or get into that?
Yeah, I mean, I'll get into that because all those immigrants and all those other non-black, non-ADOS people, you were able to get those benefits out of the Civil Rights Act. That's how they came over here and able to surpass us. That was intentionally done as well for people from India that come here, and the government here purposely gave them perks and policies and grants purposely so that they could advance educationally, business-wise over black people. That was intentionally done. So when they say that, well, we came over here with nothing and look what we got. Well, you came over here with nothing and you benefited again off of our blood, because you are benefiting off of what we fought for our people. And it's not and we're not reaping the benefits. You are. And we didn't fight for the immigrants. We fought for black people here in America. So the Civil Rights Movement, the Civil Rights Act, is basically a failure when it has to do with black people.
Yeah,
all I gotta say.
Go right ahead. Go back to the basics. Make your statements, and then we're gonna bring it over to Brother Sanchez. Go ahead, sister.
Okay, all I gotta say is if I see one more black female with an African accent, with a European, with that European hair, say, "Oh, you're lazy," and all this other. I'm gonna literally scream, because it's like, okay, just like the real Dana said, you benefited off of the Civil Rights Movement, and then plus, we have a lot of coon sambo activity going on. We're gonna have to clean house before we really can get it moving, and that's what I have to say on that.
Well, but I'm going to say this, and then Brother Sanchez has got to come in. Once again, what is stopping us? I often hear black people say, we got to come together. We've been together for over 400 years. What is stopping us from actually doing what we know we're supposed to do, despite the Sambos and the Gumbos? I know people often say the word Uncle Tom, but if you do your history and have read the Uncle Tom's Cabin book, Uncle Tom actually was trying to save the young brothers that were trying to get the hell out of the plantation, and he sacrificed himself. It was actually Gumbo and Sambo that betrayed us on those plantations. But with that said, Brother Sanchez, you wanna chime in with whatever you want to break down, brother?
I would definitely say we the ones get in our way. But go ahead, I'm sorry.
Exactly. We're not on code.
I was born and raised in Alabama, Birmingham, Alabama. And when I was coming up as a young boy, I actually remember my mama telling me to run in the house because the Ku Klux Klan was coming down our street, and they was deep in them sheets. I'll never forget it.
How old are you?
I'm 35.
Really? They were still coming down with sheets when you were a kid?
Man, I'm telling you.
And that was the 80s, right?
Wait,
right.
Wait a minute, though. Back to the basics. Not to cut you off, Brother Sanchez, all due respect to you. I'm going to say this one word. They have found that there were black people in the South that still didn't know that slavery was over. They've done reports about this in the Jet magazine, Ebony, back in the day. Back to the basics. There were black people that were still being in servitude in the deep South areas. Yeah. This is true. Go back to Sanchez now.
Well, I'm going to talk about what you just said real quick, Info Man. They never really freed us, and I'm going to show you how this worked. Like, when they say...
Let me put that screen on. You put a screen up in here or something like that?
Yeah, I got the Confederate flag up there, which is the flag I represent, which is our flag, black people. I know you're going to look at me crazy, but I'm going to give you the history in a minute.
Now, everybody, hang on to your seats.
Yeah, because he's not lying. He's about to prove a point, because the American flag is actually the racist flag, but go ahead.
Right. And I'm going to get to this Confederate flag in a minute, but I'm going to tell them what Abraham Lincoln did. Abraham Lincoln did not free the slaves. He made slaves free. Now, let me break the difference to you down, right? It went over a lot of our head because they speak in a dual language, but there's no such thing as a free slave. There's a such thing as a free man. If you're free, you ain't a slave. So the concept of a free slave come from the idea that we can take the chains off of them. There'll still be slaves without the chains on, a free slave. Also, the concept of a free slave come from the fact that they didn't have to purchase you anymore, like a free candy bar.
Wow.
So what happened with Abraham Lincoln, they stopped having slave auctions, and they made a free market where the slave would report to his plantation with his, what we call a resume today, and he would state his own credentials to be a slave to that institution. Before that, you had white men going around with huge briefcases full of, with every slave that was in their damn truck or in their cattle or whatever. They had the white owner had your resume with you, and when it was time to auction you, he'll say, well, this slave can lift 50 pounds, and this slave have been on 10 plantations, and they'll give you stats like football players today. He ran 20 touchdowns, and he can do three yards per rush. You know, this was what they was doing. They said that kind of market didn't benefit them, because the slaves during the auctions, the numbers was going up so high, the auction numbers was going up so high, it was bankrupting a lot of the slave masters. When these auctions run up for a slave so high, then that slave end up dying.
Wow.
So what happened was, hold on. So
no. Yeah, let him finish this.
The dude to show up, and he got this stack of papers for all the slaves' resume. What Abraham Lincoln did was say, you know what? We're going to make the slave show up and auction himself off, and he's going to present his own application or resume showing his or her credentials. So this is the new slave market what we in today. Like I said, free slaves that don't have to be auctioned. You see what I'm saying? Free candy bars. That went over our head. We think that we're literally free. You know what I mean? But I'm gonna let people interject before I get on this Confederate flag because I heard some people trying to.
Yeah.
Now, well, this on the way to dark because I'm gonna say one thing because I gotta talk to my godson. I haven't talked to him a little before my birthday. I would say this: the DC Democrats has formed within the 1920s. They have formed within that same flag that you talk about, has killed us, has hold off legislation against us, and it's still happening today. And I'm saying this: when us as a people, when we gonna form within ourselves to stand alone and we do things for ourselves. I don't need a goddamn flag because the flags that they have been in this goddamn country has not represent us as a people at all. And what I'm saying is this: that I don't care what status you are. I don't care if you're rich or you're poor or you're middle. When are we as a people going to understand we got to stand up for ourselves? We got to form our own system. When are we going to do that? Because some of them Sambos out here, them black men and the black women, they are not going to do it. The black Hispanics ain't going to do it. The other ones, and then we ain't talking about the damn judges like the First Circuit, the Second Circuit, and the Third Circuit and stuff like that. We don't talk about those two, but we got to talk about that too. But when are we as a people, we going to see, like if I look at Information Man, I don't care. He probably had more than me or more than him. That is my brother. I gonna fight for my brother. I gonna fight for his existence. I gonna fight for his daughter. I gonna do whatever I can to save him, no matter what level we on. And that is the thing that is missing of our people. And thank you so much, Information Man. And tonight I will do something tonight about well-rounded warriors. Check that out.
I will.
And that's the thing that I was trying to say, because we're not together. That was the whole point of me saying that we're not on code. That's the reason why. That's one of our issues. We need to clean house. That was what point I was trying to make, because we're not together as a people. Now us on the panel. Oh, we together. But as far as a people in general, we're not together.
Right. You're right about that. So what I want to do before I go over to Sanchez so he can present his presentation as it relates to the flag, the Confederate flag, I want to go over to my original guest of the show today, the real Dana, and thanking her for being here once more. But I'm going to go over to her and see if she has anything that she wants to add before Brother Sanchez breaks down the Confederate flag here.
Well, thank you for having me. I like it.
Most
I love your channel. I love like coming up here. It's like I'm able to just, think, my thoughts clearly and express myself. But and I love the people in the chat room, people are listening on this panel right now. And basically I just want to say that we have to don't be afraid to scream and yell Black Power. Because Black Power is not when people say white power. It's about us loving our Blackness, making sure that we get what is owed to us. We should be also shouting reparations now. Forget Black Lives Matter. We've been new. Black lives always matter. Yes. But we need Black Power. We need reparations. And if you can't say that, and if you're afraid to say that, then you're part of the problem. See, being on code is, we all come up here on this panel, we have our different way of thinking and our different opinions, but we all agree that reparations is owed and we need to start working and fighting to get it. That's being on code, working towards one direction. Because the Jews do not agree on everything. They have different opinions. You have Zionist Jews, you have all these other type of Jews or whatever. But what they do have in common, they are on code because they have one focus, and that is to advance their people here and abroad. So, like stay on code and shout reparations, shout Black Power, not that Black Lives Matter mess.
Right. I appreciate that. So what we're going to do, because Brother Sanchez has put the flag back up, and he's going to break down something that maybe a lot of us were not aware of. Some of us may be aware and may not be aware of this history or this breakdown that Brother Sanchez is going to give. Brother Sanchez, are you ready? I'm going to put this on the screen. Are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
All right. Hopefully we can get it back up like we had it before. Okay. And you do your thing. You do your thing, brother.
All right. Thank you so much, Info Man, and thank you to the sister Dana.
Yes.
For allowing other brothers to join her. You know what I'm saying, her bill and everything.
Yeah, she was the one that suggested this earlier. We had before you came on earlier when we were on, we had a bunch of people that were here, and people were coming in and out of the stream. But once again, everybody, if you want to check out her channel, I have the description and the link in the description of this video. I'm sorry, the link is in the description of this video, and I'll put her link in the chat room several times right now while Brother Sanchez, and everybody needs to check out Brother Sanchez's channel. Let everybody know before you begin, brother, where they can find you exactly.
You can find me. You can look me up on YouTube, Bro Sanchez TV. You'll see my avatar pop up. I also got Bro Sanchez Live. And yeah, either one of those you can find me.
Okay, excellent.
And I'm going to just start off by saying the picture we looking at now is a black slave that fought during the Civil War. We know a lot of black men fought during the Civil War for our freedom. Now, after the war, we didn't get our freedom, and that's another subject that I want to bring up. I got a viral post going on Facebook now talking about that, but I ain't going to get into that right now. Okay. When you look at this dude right here, that dude, he don't have an American flag behind him. Now, what I'm about to say now is going to sound like I'm reaching. It's going to sound foreign to you, but it's actually our true who we are as a people. When Columbus came to America, he said that he saw Indians, and I'm going to show you why he said that. This is who we are right here. Minister Farrakhan say a term I like. He called it the Asiatic black man. Not all of us know why we call it the Asiatic black man. Most of who we are as a people in America can be found in Southeast Asia. Most of black Americans, your culture traced back to Southeast Asia and nowhere in Africa, man. And I'm going to prove it to you right now that black people in America are more related to Cobra Gypsies and Angkor Wat and the Khmer people in Southeast Asia. We were the original Cambodians. We have empires that are buried in the jungle with black people on those. This is who we are. That's the Asiatic black man in America. When you look at this statue right here, this is an Olmec statue. These are the oldest people on American soil, which was an Asiatic looking black man and black woman, brown woman. You had yellow people too, but we had these Asian-like features as well. Now, you can see that today. I grew up with a lot of chocolate people that were dark like my wallet, but they had slanted eyes. I dated a girl like that. And we used to crack on her like with them slanted eyes. And I know a lot of black people with these features. And that's who we are over here. If you look at our features, we more like Cambodians or Southeast Asians, ancient Khmer people. So this statue right here, these are the people Columbus came in contact with. And you got huge black Olmec heads, and these are black men, and they got big lips, big noses, but they got Asiatic eyes though. And this is who we are. And these people were called niggas as well, and that became the word nigger. But if you look at what this Olmec soldier wearing, he wearing your flag, which is a Confederate flag. Can you see it under his chin?
Let me see. Let me pop that closer in. There you go. I had to come in and out of the stream. Go ahead, brother. I can see that right there.
You see that box with the X in it?
Yes.
That's where they get the Confederate flag from. That's the indigenous people flag of this land. This goes back to reparations. Technically, if you want to deal with Moorish law, you really can't give people reparations if they don't even have a national flag. I'm just keeping it real. This part of the rules. We say why other people get reparations and we don't. Why other people come over here and get better treatment than us. Well, those people are under a national flag. When Asian people come over here, they got a flag that they're under. Nigerians got a flag. Black people got a flag, but it's red, black, and green, what Marcus Garvey gave us. Now, a lot of people ain't gonna like what I'm gonna say, but Marcus Garvey was working with the Vatican to help erase a lot of your history. He gave you that RBG flag so that he can take you away from our real flag, which is this one right here. This flag not only is our indigenous flag as a black people, it also explains to the world our original cosmology. Because when you see what you see here is 4 red triangles pointed toward the center, and it's making an X. Now let me show you this. Here is what that flag come from. This is an ancient map of the North Pole. You can see your 4 triangles pointed toward this center, which is the North Pole itself, what the ancestors called a great mother. Here is the Mayan cosmology. If you look at the black box that's called a sacred mountain pyramid, you see it's a square with an X. And that's how we even get this Confederate flag based upon flat earth, based upon the fact that when you look at a pyramid from a top view, this is what you get, Info Man. This is what we're dealing with, cosmology and nationhood. So now I'm gonna just say this. If you look at this map, you can see where the pygmy come from. It say the pygmy habitat, and the pygmy always. This the thing that why I'm showing this. So far, I've been hearing a lot of people say we come from Africa, but when you go talk to the oldest tribe in Africa, which is the pygmy people, they'll laugh at you for saying that. The pygmies say we don't even come from Africa. The pygmies said we come from the lands in the north. They deleted these lands off of our map. Now, I told you that the white man didn't give you all of the map, and there's continents out there you never heard of that ain't on your map. It's hidden land. Then you will have to say to yourself, well, where did we really come from? Because if you just give me 7 continents, I got to choose between them 7. But if I tell you there's like 10 more continents they ain't telling you about, you don't know where you come from. Now, our ancestors said we come from where all compasses point. All compasses point to these 4 lands that's on the screen. And this is why our ancestors wore these icons around their neck with the X, with the box right there, because it was symbolizing our original cosmology. But I'm gonna say this, and I'm gonna go ahead and mute up. When Columbus came here, he saw Asiatic black people, copper-colored people, and he noticed that our spiritual practice was Hindu. Yes, black people, your true spirituality was a form of Hindu. And that's why Columbus called us Negus and Indians. India is where Hindu come from. Now check this out. This statue is in America, some of the oldest statues here. Info Man, I'm gonna ask you a question real quick. Let me ask you a question, and I'm gonna drop the mic with this. Info Man, what's the style this statue is sitting in?
Sort of like a meditative style. Legs are crossed.
That's what.
And it also has yeah, exactly. It has a meditative style, and it almost has a
the lotus.
Thank you. Oh, we've got my man New Style TV is on with us. What's going on, brother?
Hey, look, this is the last sentence, and I'm gonna stop, y'all. This statue is sitting in a style that they meditate in from Hindu spirituality, and that style is called Indian style. So when Columbus, that's why Columbus called us Indians. We were in Indian style, practicing the spirituality of India. But I'm gonna stop right there.
Well, wait a minute. That's you hit us with some heavy stuff there. Brother Art, I'm glad to see that you're here, brother. This is a very knowledgeable brother here. When you listen to the presentation, you saw it with your own eyes. What are your opinions about what Brother Sanchez has laid down here?
I mean, I support all the Aboriginal and indigenous properties of our origins. Because that's what they say in the nation, that the black man is the maker, the owner, the god of the planet Earth, or whatever he says. But it's all over. It's not just one area. That's the whole meaning of it. So it does make sense. But other than that, I mean, he just took it to a level to where you can't dispute it too much,
Well, like the sister said here, they ain't ready. I think what he presented in the time that he did, there's a lot of black people that won't be able to grasp what he just said. That's why you have to repeat these things. Sometimes for some of our people, not all, but some of our people, you have to repeat these lessons, these teachings, because, for example, Brother Sanchez, tell me if I'm wrong or right. When you look at the swastika, isn't a swastika a symbol that was stolen, that comes from ancient people, that was turned into something negative, or at least what we think is negative, because the Germans made it a racial symbol? Some people say that it came from native tribes. Am I right or wrong? Or add what knowledge you know, as I know you speak about. I know you talk about these things on your channel.
You know what? Let me do you even better. This is what I'm gonna do. I'm finna pull up a collage I made just for this type of question you asked, and I'm gonna answer quickly and in detail.
Okay, no problem.
All right, now I'm ready for it. Let me go ahead and throw this up here real quick. I am screen sharing. And what I got up, y'all see it, it's a collage with the swastikas on the right and that flat earth North Pole map on the left. Y'all see that? Okay, yes. So Hitler took upon a symbol that was very ancient. If you look on the right, the swastika came in many forms, as you can see there. It's one of the oldest symbols on earth, and it's simply what we call today the spiral of life. Now, why did they desecrate that with Hitler? Everything that can bring black people back to who we really are, they desecrated and banned it. So right now, if I wanted to teach black people about the greatness of the swastika and how the swastika was used by our ancestors, they will take my video down because they'll say I'm doing anti-Semitic talk by praising the swastika. So y'all, they built this shit to keep us from learning the truth, because in it, the symbols that we need to teach with, the symbols that we need, they've cursed them. So we need the swastika in order to teach our people our true origins and who we are. But when you try to use the swastika, they're going to say that's racist. Now check how deep this is. The Confederate flag. The Confederate flag is our true flag. But if I try to wear it today or go out and teach my people about it, they'll say, boy, that's some racist shit. Get that out of here. They have social engineered a plan that's because they know sacred geometry is the foundation of enlightenment. So once I start pulling up certain symbols that I'm gonna need to teach our people with, they ban them symbols today, is what I'm telling you. So just like the pitchfork that the devil carried, you say that's evil. But if you look at this Mayan cosmos, that go the pitchfork and the serpent in the middle. And the serpent and the pitchfork was the fucking, excuse my language, the serpent and the pitchfork was the most revered symbols to our ancestors. Today, they the most evil symbols. See what I'm saying? This is what they doing, y'all. Yeah. Now, just to answer his question about the swastika, though, Hitler called his troops Nazis. The word Nazi back in Germany is equivalent to the word Nazi that we called ourselves black people. Remember what I told you? They call us niggers today, but the G is pronounced sh. So Nazi is a form of Nagini. The original Nagi or Nazi was a Nagini serpent right here that you see wrapped around here, and that represents the spiral of life, just like the swastika. But if you look at the swastika and look at this, the original 4 continents that they say all humanity originate from, you can see what the swastika represent. Hitler was going around killing the people who hid all of this knowledge, y'all.
Brother, let me ask you this question then, because when you go back to that, when you showed the symbol of the native people that were here setting in the Indian style because they were meditating, and you talked about the religion of Hindu, and you see underneath the chin there the little square symbol with the X. Well, let me get into the Nation of Islam. Isn't one of the symbols that brothers use in the nation art, such as Malcolm X and many before him? Didn't they put the X to replace the last name because the last name was linked to the slave plantation? Now when you talk about that flag, the symbolism of the X on it is really our true symbolism. Well, then we have the black Muslim, the Nation of Islam, that uses the X symbol in replace of a slave name. So when you say you can't go outside and wear that around your neck because we will look at that as that's part of the Confederate Army and oppression, what if you changed the colors of that flag and made it exactly look like it did in ancient times? Because I think it's about people's perception, Brother Sanchez, what they perceive based on what they've been taught, right? And this is how they miseducate us by hiding our information, our power, and our history right before our very eyes, because they've turned that was positive in our culture to something as a negative symbol that was used to oppress us. Am I on the right track or am I off track?
Okay. I'm sorry. No, let the sister go first, please.
No, I was gonna say you're on the right track but not just with that, with everything. You look at the cross and the Trinity in the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Ghost. But in ancient Egypt, that's mother, father, child. So they always took from, I'm gonna say, us and turn it into something of their own,
Right.
I think, and just to piggyback, see what Sanchez is doing, that's like a whole nother 3-hour show, because that's like really deep and rich history.
Yeah. I might have to bring Brother Sanchez back and bring the panel on and do this, because damn, Sanchez, I wish.
Let me just say something real quick.
Professor, we gotta do this.
Professor James Small, I was talking to him not too long ago. He explained to me in very short detail the Confederate flag and how it was social engineered for something racist, to whereas it's the American flag is really the racist flag. And I forgot how he explained it to me. I need to ask him again, but yeah, because when he said a lot of things are socially engineered for us to believe one thing, and we fell for it. But it is really coming from, our history, and at one point, civilization, humankind started in Africa. When you look at India, what is India right now, that was part of Kush, so everything's.
Well, let me say that, and tell me if I'm wrong or right. Our concept, when we look at the map, and we call the Middle East, in reality, it's really not the Middle East. That's Europeans that have pushed the concept of the Middle. That is really a offshoot of the continent. Right. But people don't realize that.
Dr. Henry Clark always said, the middle of what? How you know what I'm saying? Because you have East Africa, but yeah, it's the middle of what? They coined that the Middle East. That's not the Middle East. And those people over there, they came from the northern part of the mountains. They're not originally from there. That was all, you're talking about dark-skinned people. And I think last time when I was here, last week when I was on your show, and I mentioned and I said, we ruled this world longer than any other mankind. 15,000 years, Africa ruled the world. But when you talk about the Europeans, and the Europeans, they only ruled the world probably from like 8%. Europeans represent only 8% of the planet, but from 1492 to 1914, Europeans conquered or colonized more than 80% of the entire world. But we ruled the world for 15,000 years. And then if you look at our oppression, and this was Dr. Clark, he said in one of his lectures, it's a very short time that we have been oppressed, and I call the United States the modern day Rome. And just like Rome fell, America will fall. So who's going to be standing?
Let's do this, everybody. Brother Sanchez. Because we've been on for a long time, but are you available next Saturday to have you come on as the main guest to present a lot of, because I got a lot of things I want to pick your brain about some of the stuff that you're talking about, but other things I've heard you talk about on your channel. And he's got a fantastic channel, everybody. You got to check him out. And then with that, I want to bring a panel on like what we have here. Are you available, brother, next Saturday? I'm in the West Coast like you.
Oh, yeah. I'm available.
All right, because what I'll do is prepare that show and bring you on so you can go deeper into this, because I want more. I want to promote this up, get more people over here for next Saturday, and bring Real Dana. Are you going to be available next Saturday as well?
Probably. I'm not sure yet. I'll definitely let you know by Thursday.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because, and I know Art, you in the West Coast. Will you be available?
Yeah, most likely. Yeah, most
All right,
likely.
because I want to go with more time deeper into the things that Brother Sanchez is talking about. And Art, yourself, brother, you are a highly knowledgeable brother in various areas like this, and I want to pick your brain as well. So, Brother Sanchez, let's set that up, and we can do that probably. Let's see, which will probably be better for a lot of people. What about a 12 noon program?
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine.
Okay. Now, if anything comes up, Brother Sanchez, personal in your life, let me know. You got my email, right?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Actually,
let me know so that I can redirect, reschedule it. You know what I'm saying? For whatever other day you are available.
Most definitely. Okay. That sounds good to me. Well, then, and with that being said, I'm not going to keep running my mouth and prolonging the show. I know you're trying to get out of here. I just want to thank you, Info Man, for having a platform to let people come here and build. And
yes, sir.
There's not a lot of people doing what you're doing, because a lot of these platforms that say they for our people, they only for our people that agree with them. Now, you have brothers come up here who don't see eye to eye with you, who you may say some things that you don't agree with, but you allow them on. And that's the first step right there, man, creating an unbiased platform so that all of our people can have their voices heard. We can't unite without that. You know what I'm saying? So I want to thank you for that. And shout out to the sister Dana and all of the brothers.
Yeah, same to you.
Yeah.
And Art, I do follow your channel. I just subscribed to your channel, Sanchez, and I do follow Art channel. Like, I like to watch y'all paint. It's like very relaxing.
Art, tell everybody about tell everybody, Art, because there's some people that may not know who you are or senior. Tell everybody about your channel, because you are a professor, you're a teacher, you're in the community in the Southern California area, and you have a fantastic channel because you are an artist, an incredible artist, by the way.
Oh yeah,
tell everybody.
First of all, I followed your channel too, Sister Dana. You got a lot of fire. One day, hopefully you'll be a guest on my show as well.
Sure.
So we can build, because you're the type of sister that can survive my channel. A lot of these sisters get ran away, man. I'm like, hell.
Right.
But and Sanchez left, huh? Anyhow,
yeah, he left, but just check this out. We're going to prepare for next week. We're going to have a dynamic show. Everybody in the chat room, and Brother Sanchez just gave me a super chat, and I appreciate that. So let me give him the respect where respect is due. Thank you, brother.
Thank you for the super chat.
Hey, Brother Sanchez, I'm looking forward to next week. Go right ahead, Brother Arch, New Style.
Quickly, I didn't get to add, and I'm going to be real quick, but one of the things that, I bring up things, I don't have like a direct formula, but for some reason there's some observations I have, and the fact that the whole thing about I can't breathe, it seemed like it's connected to the whole theme of the respiratory disease.
Mm-hmm.
And it seemed like they're connected for some reason, and then the fact that we put on masks, we can't breathe in the mask. So it seemed like something is going on with this whole breathing thing, and it's tied into the whole protest and all this kind of stuff. So it's
It's a great analogy. Yeah, true.
Yeah. But Art, you're on the money, brother, because isn't it? I just think that there is something, not to sound like a preacher here, but I think God is at work, because here we go from this COVID-19, like you said, with wearing these masks, which really hurt our breathing, like you said, and then next thing you know, we have a black man who dies because he cannot breathe. And of course, they're trying to dirty it up and say, well, he had COVID-19, by the way. Oh, he might have had some meth in his body. That's bullshit. That's not what he died of.
Yeah, I think it's something that's controlling the subconscious for everybody, but they're putting black people at the center.
Right.
That's what that's what I don't have all the pieces of the puzzle, but it seemed like those are the main things that we need to pay attention to. instead of looking at, being celebratory just because white folks are holding a Black Lives Matter shirt or spray painting BLM in nice cursive writing on people's houses. We got to look at the different signs that they're trying to put out there. But I ain't gonna keep it long. But anyhow, my channel was about politics, relationships, community, art, music, all those kind of things. I'm only about maybe about 30 something subscribers away from 1,000. So everybody come and check us out, and hit me up by email if you want to do something or collaborate. I'm always available, and I'm always here to support you, brother. Information, man, is the main reason why I've been on here. He put me on, so I'm always giving credit.
Well, look, this is what we're gonna do, Art, as well. Once again, me and you got to do a collaboration together too, as well. And because I wanted to pick your brain. Matter of fact, Art, this is what I do sometimes, brother. I do pop-up shows through where I go live through my Facebook channel, which is connected to my Information Man show, and I do it into Periscope, into Twitter, and I'll do a pop-up show that's not actually on YouTube. And then what I'll do sometimes is take the audio and maybe turn it into a podcast on my other platforms. So me and you got to do a pop-up program like that. Maybe this weekend before the weekend's over. Who knows? So I'll be connecting with you.
We're West Coast.
Do a pop-up show, which I can actually reload up to YouTube if possible. But I like doing that because there's an audience that I have on that side of the fence. That's a growing audience. That's very surprising to me. It's interesting how some people are into certain platforms. You can have more people watching you on certain platforms than others. It's really interesting how that works, Art. And that's why I would suggest, if you are using something like Yard Streams, take advantage of the other platforms that you can pipe the program into. We've got a few people in Periscope watching right now. I want to say peace to y'all. We got Kamala. I'm bad with names. She says, I love Art. So you got a fan already out there watching you in the Periscope area. And then we've got Brooklyn Native 48 over from Periscope. I'm saying peace to him. And of course, there's probably God knows how many people are watching over on the Twitter page proper. But let me just say this: we're gonna do that. And once again, Dana, let me say this. How can I say this? I think my respect for you, Dana, has gone up 100% twofold, because when I've been on panels with you, and you know how people, when we go back and forth in our debates and we get passionate about what we believe, sometimes you can walk away with a misunderstanding of where that person really stands. But having a conversation with you one-to-one today actually clarified anything that I might have had about any difference with you, that make me understand, okay, this is where this sister's really coming from, because now I'm really having a chance to listen to her without other Negroes bidding into the conversation,
right.
butting into the conversation. And here comes BMT, who's late as hell. I sent you a link a long time ago, and you come in here late. Why is black people late?
He has a hangover.
Like this? Black people are so late, but we're never late to our own funeral. Only the people that's bringing us to our funeral are late. What's going on, BMT?
He stayed up late with my channel, so he's just not waking up.
No, I just finished having a block party, so that's pretty much it.
Okay.
So I'm just chilling out. Everybody there and there chilling. We brought in some pretty good money. I think we brought in at least about get 10,000.
10,000. Okay, you gonna break? You can break us off a piece of that bread.
I got investors. I can't do that. I got
no, brother. All you have to do is super chat that 1,000.
he was drinking that Gullah rum,
but right now, like I said, I've been telling people, like, take advantage of the opportunities that are before us. Like I'm moving in a whole different beat.
Right.
Of how from what other people, and some people are gonna move, some people are not.
Right.
Shout out to y'all two getting to talk, Information Man and Dana. Dana's one of the my co-hosts on the Hour of Power.
Yes.
And we've been rocking for a while, and she's always been a pleasure to rock with. Y'all should always catch her over there on The Real Dana. and Magdos. So I definitely enjoy catching the stuff, and also when she sits down with Just Joe Brown, and he drops a lot of powerful gems. But I think it's good that when people connect, shout out to Art. I came over there and just to have a talk with him, and just dispel. We had to talk on what goes down between me and Officer Charles on what goes on actually in the protest. A lot of people, what people think go down and what we actually do at these protests. So we got, hopefully as time goes on, we'll start seeing people connect and they'll start to realize the talking points of what other people say and start to spread away from that. And that's just how it is. You'll start finding out. I think that's what I like about this 2020. Because now the masks are going to start coming off of people, and I'm starting to see that a lot more often. More masks are coming off, and you're learning more about the people that you want to build with, and the people that are not for you to build with. So,
right. Let me just say, likewise, media is coming to the house. Let me just say this, BMT, and everybody on the panel. How can I say this? I think it's very revealing. I think it's very important. I think it is good for our soul to be able to see people come out and say things that are in their own honest opinion or their own honest thought, whether it's racist or not. I like the idea of hearing what Drew Brees said. I like the idea of when people come out white, whatever color they are, and say things that I may not agree with, because I'd rather know where someone stands rather than know that they are snake in the grass. That's the difference between living in California and other places of the world. In California, you got everybody smiling at you, acting like they're your friend when they are a snake in the grass. And when you go back in some of your traditional areas where black people have lived, like in the South, you know where you stand with people that are racist or in anything else, because they'll tell you that they don't like you. So wouldn't you want to live in a world where you know where people really stand versus people just acting like they're your friend? Come on, folks. Think about that.
No, I agree. That's why I love the South. That's why when people say, "Oh yeah, the South is so openly racist," I was like, "Yeah, why not?"
And
I
that's
like
why I'm
that.
trying to get back down to the South.
That's what I said. Listen, they'll tell you. Listen, either they rock with you or they don't. They ain't gonna they don't closet shuck a jive around here. They'll let you know, like, "Hey, we don't want you around here." Oh, thank you. Okay.
And last thing before you go, the reason why I came up because I was trying to chime into people coming in and poking fun at protesters or whatever, saying black on black crime in Chicago.
I hate that.
My whole thing is, can you use something other than Chicago? That's been how many times have people been saying that in Chicago is not the most black on black crime infested area. There's way more other places. When you say Chicago, you showing us that you are repeating somebody's talking points.
Right.
It doesn't really help. If you're really sincere about that, try to find another way to get people to understand that there's more important things. And last thing I would ask is, by you saying that when black folks are not happy about what's happening with other people killing us, are you saying that so we're supposed to stop and not be angry about what happened to the injustice? Is that the design for it? That's all I'm saying. That's it.
You're gonna find
break into a zoo in Chicago, and tigers was running around. People have monkeys on their shoulders playing with it. So yeah, they did. But I found that odd. But maybe that was symbolic of you took the animals out their habitat, put them in the cage, so we're letting them free. Maybe that was it. But yeah,
interesting. Well, I would say I would implore everybody to do this if you really want to know the truth of the matter. We can use their statistics. The FBI, I think the latest numbers that came out were from 2018, and the statistics show overall, yes, black people have had issues with, killing each other, homicide, that kind of stuff. But if you look at the overall crime statistics in America, white people, particularly white men, they lead in all of the crimes that overall in this country. They make up the majority of the crime. And I know this personally, and I've said this to people 1,000 times, but nobody wants to freaking listen. I directly deal with guys that are incarcerated of all races, gangs, and creeds. The majority of the white guys that I deal with when I have seen their criminal files, they have committed some crime like murdering another white person. And black people do it to each other. Every race will prey on each other. Do we have to clean up some of our mess? Hell yeah. That's our responsibility, to be quite honest. Nobody else is more than our own. So I will leave you with that. And Brother Maurice, who is in the chat room right now, says that he's at work. So he's at the plantation right now, ladies and gentlemen. He's at his plantation.
Is he working?
And make sure that you pick all, and Maurice, you pick all that cotton. Make sure you pick it all up. Pick that cotton.
I got your back, Mo. I got your back, Maurice.
Pick
I
that
got
cotton.
your back.
That's and that's what Donald Trump said while you're out there. Donald Trump said to you, pick that cotton, because you pick that cotton, my African American.
Yeah, pick his
I had
hair.
to mess with him. But no. Everybody, let's do this again next week. I'll bring Sanchez on as the featured guest. Let him run through some of the stuff that he runs through, and then bring folks onto the panel and have a great discussion. I might even go back. I might go live Sunday on some issue. I don't know. Let me ask y'all this. I got to ask everybody's opinion on here. BMT, The Real Dana, Art, New Style TV, and everybody in the chat room. I was going to go live or do a video about this, and I still might do it. How many of you are familiar with the black men in New York who were they were protecting a New York police officer, and there were pictures all over the Facebook on this.
Mm-hmm.
There was a New York police officer who got lost from his tribe, his police tribe. And so the black men surrounded him to keep people from wanting to get their hands on him. And I looked at that and I said, wow, black people, we sure do love we sure do got Stockholm syndrome. I wonder how many officers would protect George Floyd. How many officers stop other officers and say, don't do that. Don't choke the black man out. Okay, you got him in cuffs, put him in the wagon and take him down to the station and book him on whatever it is that he did wrong. But we don't see anybody, even black folks who take the photos of this stuff. We don't even see anybody saying we're going to protect our brother and surround him. But we had black men in New York surrounding New York police who have had a history of harassing black men, black women, killing us, and having what they call a quota system. Go back and look at the Raymond case, Raymond versus NYPD. Happened a few years back, where it was 12 officers who went against the NYPD because they have a quota system for, like, you gotta harass black men if you want to get that promotion, if you want to get that time off. Oh yeah, that was what was happening, and we got Negroes, plantation Negroes, surrounding to protect this officer. And I'm not promoting violence, but it just was interesting how they were willing to protect him. But where is the protection for black women and black men when we're being savaged by these race soldiers? Anybody want to tackle that?
I like to say something. Where's the protection from black people protecting black people?
Well, I'll let you.
Because I mean, I think we need to start there first. We need to start protecting each other first. And then I saw that picture, and it's like, yeah, why protect him? Let the people do what they wanted to do to him. However, maybe those black men figure, okay, if we let these young black boys and girls, have at it with this officer, and then 6 months down the line, they find out who killed or badly beat this officer, they're going to be in jail. So maybe those men did a favor to the protesters that wanted to harm the officer, as well as to save that officer ass as well. So you got to look at the other side of the coin, because don't think these people that's been lootering and destroying cop cars or whatever, they're going to look at those drones and those cameras and try to go back and arrest as many people as possible to meet their quota, or how many people they can arrest. So because police officers, they have a quota to arrest a certain amount of people, and they're going to use people from these protests who vandalize to be arrested down the line. Right. So those black men could have did those protesters. They did do those protesters a favor, one. And then two is just like, it's not just because you did it to me, don't mean I have to do it back. It's more like, listen, you don't have to kill this officer to get our point across, because it's bigger than that. However, if this was 1967 and I was the Black Panther, or that officer would have been shot and dead. But that's a different consciousness from then to now.
I think even if one doesn't like seeing what they did because of what officers have been doing to black people, like they killed a black man in Seattle that had a barbecue restaurant, and he was actually giving police free food, and they shot him dead in the street, left him there for 12 hours. None of those officers in Seattle surrounded him and said, let's get him protection and get him out of here so nothing happens to him. See, those are the kind of things that bother me, Real Dana, when I look at the differences in treatment. But let me say this. I think black people do these sort of things because, one, we have a pineal gland that has melanin in it that's working and operating. It's not calcified or anything like that. So we have empathy and sympathy.
Yes.
But it could sometimes be our downfall because we're so nice to a fault that it comes at our own expense at times.
Right.
As I get ready, because my audience is dwindling down because we've been on for so long and people got things to do on a Saturday. But BMT, you got any last words if you want to say anything to what I said? And Brother Art.
Yeah, I can answer that. So pretty much the riot that happened in Charleston, after the riot had happened, the police had arrested over 300 protesters. They literally filled up a jail, and they're still filling up other jails. What they've already shown is that, one, even after the riots, what they have is that they're able to, and I try to warn people, is that they have facial digital ID, which a lot of people do not understand how it works. With the facial digital ID, all they got to do is every camera snaps a picture of your face, and literally all they have to do, because a lot of us are linked into Facebook, social media, and different other stuff. They do not. All they have to do is just run the pictures through of the faces, and literally all they were doing, which is going to people's houses and just picking them up. That's all they do. They don't even have to ask a question. They said, you were participating around such and such time in this store, this area. You can get bail around this time with the judge. And they just started picking up. I think they picked up over 300 people. So we already understand that. We already understand they're playing on a high frequency game, and that a lot of people, myself included, are already intertwined in a system. So we're already in a system, whether we know it or not, even right now with our voices and stuff. So it was very interesting how they were going about to all these people's houses, and literally, I think they picked up the kid down the street. They picked him up. His parents were like, "Hey, what are you doing?" They said, "Hey, you can come pick him up from jail around this such time. This is the paperwork," and that was it. They weren't even questioned. So believe me, the powers that be, when they're playing hardball, they're playing it. So a lot of people understand that when the dust goes down, a lot of people. There's a reason why the master is allowing the mouses to go into the mouse trap. They're allowing them to go into the mouse trap and take the cheese, because once you go back to the nest, they know where you're going. And I'm telling people this is a smoke screen for something bigger that is going to happen for IDs, for identification. So there's a lot to play at this info that I would love to have to. I would love, but when we get more time, I'll try to go into more time about speaking about that. But yeah, that was pretty interesting how they were able to get over 300 people in just one day. And that wasn't even during the riot. That was after the riot. They just went straight to their house and picked them up. So
yeah, facial recognition is very serious, folks. It's real.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, they already got that. The thing about it is we didn't think that it was already here, but they've already proven that, especially when you think about Instagram, social media. You know how we got the thing with our retina and our fingertip scans on our phones and everything. All that stuff syncs up to a cloud, also to a lot of servers and stuff. So they've already proven that, hey, whether you did it or not knowingly, you already are into a system, whether you know it or not. You're already in the system.
Right. Let me, before I go over to Art, everybody, if you have not had a chance, I did a video that I dropped last week recently that talks about the whole martial law, insurrection, all this sort of stuff, but it was mostly focused on the King Alfred plan, and it's real. It's very, 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 very real. So, Brother Art, you have any last words?
Yeah, Sister Dana, could you put your email in the private chat so I can send you a tester? And
sure.
And mainly I would like to encourage people to take a break off of media, social media, and just go outside in your safe space and breathe some real air and get the sun in your skin, because
Right.
sometimes when you're stuck in this whole digital age type thing, it really messes with your subconscious, and you start saying things that you never meant to say and think things what you never meant to think. So
Hmm.
you want to be able to make your own reality versus somebody else's reality. So I,
Right.
I would like to encourage people to do that, because I hear it in these spaces. People are really mimicking and reciting things that are on CNN, and they don't even realize it. Matter of fact, they're fighting with using those talking points as though it's real. So really catch yourself, because sometimes the sun will kind of cleanse some of that stuff out. The sun and the breezes and all that kind of stuff. If you feel
Hmm.
a little bit uncomfortable afterwards, just when you get back inside, get you some Listerine and gargle some of those germs that you think you're breathing, and that'll give you a little bit of sense of calmness. You know.
Right.
So I think
Right.
I would encourage people to do that.
Right on, brother Art. Let me say peace to Lady Be Unstoppable. Thank you for coming in the chat, sister. Make sure y'all check out her channel as well. As a reminder, YouTube and their evilness, they do not allow you to tap on a person's avatar in the chat room and simply go over to their channel very quickly and subscribe to them. So I would say, folks, try to write people's names down on some paper, and then you can go back to their channels in the search engine and subscribe to them. That's the way I would operate if you're using a laptop at home. I know if you're using a a phone when you're out and about, it's kind of difficult, but you can always replay of the video to get people's names that you wanted to get back, you want to connect with, and everybody should I would say support each other's channels. That's the only way we grow and develop as content creators and as people who are seeking knowledge. I'm gonna let Dana have the last words, and once again, let me give her a much warm clap.
Thank you. No,
Thank you for
I
being
really
here again.
appreciate you having me on. I really appreciate it. It was fun. It was fun last week. So I'm definitely be back next week. If I can't hop on, I would definitely be listening and donating. And thanks to everybody that was listening and came on the panel and in the chat room. I really appreciate everybody. And I just want people to, respect yourself, love yourself, and
Mhm.
respect others and love others, and stay black.
Right.
That's nothing short, and it's short and sweet, but that means a lot. Just stay black and be proud of being black.
Right. Right. Well, look, this is what I want to do. Um, if there's a situation where you're not able to come on next week, then I might have to talk to Sanchez and see if we could postpone it, because I really want your voice on this particular panel after much in the way we did today, after I have a one-to-one with him, and then we break into more conversation. I really would like you to be a part of that. So if you
Okay.
can tell me within advance, then I can contact him and say, well, we're going to have to move it back to another date, because I really want you to be a part of this.
Okay. Yeah, I'll definitely let you know by Thursday, because I'm supposed to. I made plans next week, Saturday. I just don't know the exact time. So I would
Okay.
definitely let you know by Thursday.
Yeah,
Definitely
let
by
me know so
Thursday.
that we can probably flip it to another date and time.
Okay.
And I think the reason why I want to the later in the noon is better, because I think it'll be better time for everybody. So we'll do that. I appreciate you once again being here. I appreciate everybody in the chat room. Brother Art, what's going on? I got to get back over to your channel too. Brother Art, do you have anything that you're doing today that people should be aware of on your channel? Or are you just taking it easy today?
Mostly Tuesdays and Fridays, man. Just Black Artists on the Spot on Tuesdays, and Friday Night Touch Ups on Friday. But I'm going to be bringing my panels back again, my famous theme panels. So
Right.
stay tuned for that. I have to make sure everybody can agree on the same day.
Yeah, this might be the longest stream I've done in a long time. I used to do a lot of panels too, and I kind of got away from it. But I see that now that it's necessary. And Art, the most important thing is having panels where people are actually having real dialogue and not screaming and yelling at each other and
I reduced that.
and beating on each other's chests. And I'm the number one knowledge head. Everybody wants to be a dark matter head, as I call it.
I reduced
Who's got the biggest melanin head? No, everybody has something to lay on the table, but you know how it is, brother. Everybody wants to show they're the biggest melanated brain.
I had, that's back in the day, man. When in the beginning, it was that pissing match. So
and I kind of got into when I used to be on O'Shea's, when we used to do a lot of those, those rumbles. I got into that crap myself and got to a point where it's like, is it really necessary? And a lot of times I'm debating with people who ain't really that woke anyway.
right. And they laughing in the background while you pissed off. So
right. You getting pissed off debating with you know what the old saying is, if you debate and argue with fools, people will begin to think that you're the fool.
Yeah, exactly.
So but there's nothing wrong with healthy debate though. At the same time, nothing wrong, but when you don't have a level of respect for one another, that's when it goes too far. So brother Art and Sister Dana, take care, everybody. I'm getting ready to call it quits. Hit the old music here.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Yeah, I think the stream was so long that people were like, "Oh shit, I got things to do today." So take care, everybody. So everybody, take care, everybody. Hopefully, when we do this next week, I'm pretty sure I'm gonna talk to Sanchez. We're gonna rock the house over here. He's gonna bring his crowd over. I'm gonna bring my folks over. Dana,
I blame it on Sanchez because he pulled out all types of cannons.
Oh yeah, so I'm gonna talk to Sanchez. I want him to bring his crowd over. Dana, I want you to bring. You got a pretty big channel too. I want you to bring your crowd over. We want to rock. We're gonna rock the house next week, and if it doesn't happen next week, we're gonna rock the house the following week. But we're gonna rock the house. Take care, everybody. Peace to you.
Peace.
Tell the truth. Tell the truth. Tell the truth. Tell the truth.
Information Man
Tell
Show.
the truth. Tell the truth.
Do you want truth?
Tell the truth. Tell the truth.
If you don't want truth, this is not the channel for you.
Tell the truth.
Information is power.
Tell the truth.
Truth. That's happening in American society and around the world. Information Man Show.
Information is power.
We got to ring the bell to wake the world up.
Tell the truth. Information is
Tell the truth.
power.
We will make
Tell the truth.
America
Tell the
great
truth.
again.
Information Man Show.
Tell the truth.
Yes. Tell the truth.
Tell the truth.
In the White House, I'm not gonna say his name.
You are listening to Information Man. information.